good to start? Okay, welcome staff and employees and resident. Thank you for being here, Lincoln. I'm glad to see that.
You haven't scared me away yet?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, we'd like to go ahead and start. Van, would you offer an invocation, and then I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
You bet. Our Heavenly Father, we give Thee thanks for the many blessings in life that we enjoy. We're grateful for the city of Lindon and for the many great people that live here. We are grateful for our first responders, our police and fire and EMS, and grateful for their service on our behalf. Grateful for all of our city staff and employees who do so much to serve the citizens of Lindon. We are grateful that we can meet tonight in this city council meeting. We invite Thy Spirit to be with us, that we can discuss the items that are on the agenda, that our minds can be open, and that good decisions can be made for the citizens of this great town. And say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Van. The audience, please arise. That kind of sounds official. Would you follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and do a roll call. And Van, do you want to start us off, please?
Van Broderick, present.
Randy Powell, present.
Carolyn Lundberg, present.
And Mike is excused. He's traveling. Minutes of October 18th, 2021. If there are additions, corrections, now would be the time to let Kathy know.
I had no adjustments.
Scoured it, couldn't find a single error.
Section.
I'll make a motion that we approve the October 18th, 2021 City Council minutes.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Jake, second by Carolyn. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. So let's see. Okay, yeah. We're going to do presentations from the department heads, right?
Yes. I think police, we've got you first on there, Chief. Is that all right?
Good evening. I'll be brief.
The time you need, it's okay.
I believe you've got the handout that Adam had, but he'll put it up on that board. Just wanted to go over a few statistical points of information. Adam, can you hit that first?
Yep.
Thank you. So, call summary from January 1 till now. Well, this was a week ago and it's prepared. So calls for service. That means any call that comes across the screen for an officer. Doesn't mean they necessarily have to take a report or document it. It just means any call that comes in. So that's that first number you see, that's 8,048. So that could be help lockout at Walmart, help somebody, get their keys up in a residential. Could be abandoned 911. Could be any type of calls for service that weren't necessarily documented. The second one there, those are the incidents that we've documented this year to date, 3,292. So those are incidents that officers have gone out, taken a report, and taken some action. Arrests, 478, traffic stops, 1,981, and then the citations at 720. Skip to the next one. So when we talk about calls, type of calls for service, some of the top one we deal with, as in previous updates for the council, are the thefts. So we had 299 thefts, a lot of those from our business district, the Home Depot and the Walmart. Most of those are caught in action by loss prevention, and we're down taking those cases. The picture on the right you'll see was down at the animal shelter. I wanted to highlight that one just real briefly because our guys did a great job. I mean, the guy tried to throw a big rock through the window, it bounced back and hit him. So he decided to drive his truck through the window and hit that. So they went to Home Depot, grabbed a piece of plywood to help secure that for the business for that night. So just some above and beyond. Two cases I want to highlight. The Briggs case, business burglaries, a couple business burglaries we had. Detectives went down, they did a great job, found some evidence, followed up, and were able to recover quite a bit of the property owner's tools for his work that day. Kept him in business, but just kind of the other one is that Shepherd case there. This was the one I kind of briefed a while back, but we had a vehicle theft in the city and also a stolen vehicle from Public Works. This was kind of organized crime. This last name Shepherd is the individual offender. They had between Wyoming, Utah, and Texas, so they were going around stealing property, vehicles, trailers, ATVs, and leaving them all over the place. And it led to confessions of over $300,000 worth of his personal property, and then multiple vehicles from throughout Wyoming, Utah, and down in Texas. So some of the higher cases that we've been dealing with there over the past few months. And then the next sheet that you have in front of you, I think, is the traffic crashes, just a document that we've had 284 crashes, reportable crashes. So some non-reportable, but these are 84 reportable crashes. 44 of those involved personal injury. Luckily, nothing too significant in that way. And then on the, Adam, can you go two more?
Two more, sorry.
Nope, you're just fine. And then some of the things I just wanted to highlight briefly, some of the presentations, some of the things the guys have been involved in, the department's been involved in the past several months. Some fraud prevention courses at the senior citizens with the city center there. Critical incident active government, we helped with Heath and Allen with critical incidents if something were to happen to the pool or somewhere else in the city. We've helped some of the presentations there. Tours, some community events. I want to let you also know there's a Bob training this Wednesday at Old Canyon Junior High that Kelly, our emergency managers, kind of set up and brought in, and we've invited school administrators from all over to come into that. So that's being held Thursday, and then our emergency management and CERT efforts are kicking up along with service there. Briefly, I've also suspended the grooming standards for some of our guys for the next 3 months. So what they're going to do is they have to contribute $50, and if they do that, we'll use that funding to help somebody out in the community. So that's just something else we're kind of working on over this winter, and they get a kick out of that. So if you see them a little shaggier than normal, that's why. I'm into professionalism, so it was hard for me to relinquish that, but it's for a good cause.
Love it.
Then the last one, Adam, is just I know it's last minute, but we are having a department meeting. Be this Wednesday from 1 to 3, but if you want to come over a little earlier, you can meet some of the guys. I know some of you had mentioned that before, may not know all the staff, but we'll be here, so if you'd like to pop in. And I think Detective Sanchez will be making some street tacos too.
Yeah, it's always better to meet him that way rather than on the road.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, that's just a brief update. If anybody has any questions before I let somebody else take over.
Thank you so much, Chief. Quick couple questions.
you bet.
Of those accidents, you said there are about 2,284. What is is that pretty level with past years, or is there an uptick in crashes occurring?
You mean the 284? That's just 284.
Sorry.
Yeah,
there's
I'm
a
glad
couple
it's
numbers
not
there.
2,000.
Not 2,000, the 284, are you seeing a year-over-year
We're seeing
uptick?
so we're just heading into the winter months, so we should see a little uptick, but we're actually a little lower this time of year than I noticed in the past year. I'd have to do some research further back to see, but yeah, we're a little bit lower.
And then the 478 arrests, I got that number right?
Yeah.
Hopefully. Are those, so two questions, twofold. Are those arrests that occurred in Lindon city limits, or were they arrests that you collaborated with other jurisdictions with cases that sort of crossed over the lines?
So all those cases are Lindon City cases. So those would be all thefts or arrests that originated in Lindon.
And is there any sense of a percentage of those individuals that are outside, within Lindon, residents that were arrested versus non-resident?
So that would take a little
arrests?
more research to find out where those individuals live or reside to say whether they're residents or not. It'd take some time, but most of the significant ones that these thefts are local, but they don't reside in Lindon. If that answered your question.
It does,
Okay.
thank you.
I took our scout group to the public safety building. Chief gave us a tour, and he asked the kids, how many murders do you think there's been in Lindon this year? I think I asked the question, and the first boy popped up and said, 43. And he was glad to find out that we are a little safer than 43 murders this year, so just a lot.
So on those thefts that took place, the trailers and different, is there a listing of people that may have lost trailers that, or whatever, can they go and see if that's their property?
So luckily, most of the vehicles
Were
that
out
have
of
been
state?
recovered were either local or that came from out of state have been identified and owners contacted. A lot of the personal property, we've been able to identify where some of that property came from, and then other agencies who have served search warrants, which were outside of our jurisdiction in storage units and houses. That property is being identified, trying to have serial number. If not, it's being, there'll be some information put out and people can go in and try to identify that.
Okay.
How do they access that information? Just through, is there a tab in your section of the website, or is just the front desk to find out if their personal property happens to be in some sort of recovery?
So there's a
City.
database that collects and law enforcement system that, identifies property that was recovered from like a search warrant or if there's missing from a theft. So they'll just have to go in and search to see which items may connect and find the owners that way. We do send out annually, property, unclaimed property, and people can search that way as well.
Thank you.
So if an individual's made a claim of stolen property, do they match that up with what's recovered to see if possibly that would be theirs?
Yeah, the difficult part is hopefully citizens or, property owners can label or obtain, keep serial numbers, and that way it's easier to identify and track for people when they call
Okay.
in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Next, we'll hear from our community development, Mike Florence, our planning director, and Phil Brown, building official. So,
Matching blue, all right, good job.
We coordinated, so. Thanks, Mayor and council members. It's great to be here with you. We provided some statistics for the last year and a half so far on development numbers in Lindon, and Phil can talk more about permits, but those are pretty average on, Phil and Gary are pretty busy with 400 permits a year, so. But land use applications, we got a lot of land use applications that are currently in rotation with us. We've got 26 right now. Phil, anything you want to say?
It's pretty high average, I would say, on the valuation of that, because if you figure we're bringing in near 100 million, and those numbers are my valuation numbers, not true valuation. It's probably 10 to 20% lower than actual real valuations. So that's for a small community. I didn't break that down as far as residential versus commercial, but I think you could probably get a pretty good guess of that. That takes in everything from swimming pools, garages, basement finishes, new single-family homes, and if you've been down in Ivory, that development, it's a whole nother world down there, and it's filling in fast. It's not uncommon for us to do 5 to 10 residential permits a week. The majority are in the high-density areas, the higher-density areas. So, and since July, we've issued another 110 permits. Very busy.
What's the process as new building permits are applied for and completed with the county for taxation and that type of thing? How does that?
I can't answer that exactly, but I do know the assessor's office send out people to monitor construction along the way. You might go online and look at some of those projects, and it'll have pictures and they're not finished. So I do know that they do a percentage based on year completed. So if they're not quite finished in this calendar year, they might prorate that.
Do they receive that information from us, though, of the
That
permits?
triggers them just to know that there's. a
That something's
project
going on.
started, And so they will start tracking that from then. They have people that are assigned, actually, I think they use contract people to come down and look at those projects to do progress, to know when it completes. So they don't actually follow up with us as far as when it finalized,
But just
to
when,
know when to start assessing that.
but at a commencement, then they start monitoring.
Yes. So, and they used all of their own numbers other than the addresses. They very rarely use ours for a basis of value. They measure it and do some things, so. We have been actively trying to hire some people to, bring in-house and train. We've had some pretty good candidates for in-training positions. People with much of experience or certifications are not coming. We're trying to entice a couple that might be qualified to help us out. We have a unique situation because we're a good mix of residential and commercial. And if you're qualified to inspect residential buildings, you can't look at the other 50% of the work we do. So we're getting closer. We've got some fairly good candidates, but it's gonna be probably some training.
So, since probably March, we've been 100% paperless, with our department, so all building permits, land use applications, those are all submitted online. We do all of our reviews online, so, we really appreciate the software that you guys funded for us, so.
I have opportunities to have the applicant schedule their inspection online, or do they have to
We're
still
not
do that?
quite there yet, that's our next step. So,
The problem that we have is if we don't do an AM or a PM scheduling, which a lot of cities do, I think that benefits the city, not the individual, because we have contractors that have to wait a half a day because they don't know when the inspector's gonna show up. And where there's only two of us and Gary does the majority of the work, we have to schedule it so we know how much we can squeeze in one day.
Sure.
We want to go over a couple projects real quick. A lot of times you don't get to see these unless you're reviewing the planning commission packet, but just wanted to let you know what the planning commission's been approving recently. These are newly entitled developments, so this building at the top is right across the street. It's, right now they're planning that a fizz would go in the corner unit with the drive-through. And then the Pure Pickles down there on 195 North State Street, that would be 4 indoor pickleball courts. Both of those are on hold right now just because of construction costs, but they both plan on moving forward on those.
So is this one with the fizz, that would be where the car lot was?
No, it's
Or is
the,
it across the street?
Vacant next to,
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
just north of the
North
park.
of the park entrance.
yep. No,
No, right
this
across
one's-
the street, right next to Avalon.
there's
Okay.
just a little triangle piece right
Not,
there.
not the
Oh.
Pure Pickle. The Lindon Fizz is over in,
Right across the street.
Oh.
That little vacant piece, it was the remnant piece that
Yeah.
Jared Osmond had
Okay, so-
with his
okay,
development.
Okay.
There is a little
yes.
small vacant piece of land.
And so will this be perpendicular to State Street then?
Yes,
Right, is it this one right there?
yes.
It is.
Yeah, so they'll have those 3 units facing State Street.
Oh, they all face State Street.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah, it's a very tight site, and they had to redesign the site because we have that requirement. You have to be 40 feet from a building to a residential use or zone. And so that, they had a better site laid out, but because of that 40-foot separation requirement,
And that house that's on Harecliff,
uh-huh.
and that's a Airbnb or something along those lines.
Yeah, the one on the south is, I think, I don't know about the one on the north,
My
but,
kids have stayed there. So,
yeah. So,
And then the pickleball's going on there.
pickleball goes on that one.
It's great.
It sounds like on the other one, the one just south of that, pickleball, there's an indoor soccer place facility looking at that site as well, so.
What is going in next to Hans Automotive, north of that, or south of that?
Yeah,
Millhaven.
I have that one.
That's
Oh,
office.
okay,
Yep.
that's coming up. Thank you. Keep forgetting to ask.
So the next one is one the planning commission, let's see. That one didn't go, Adam. Oh, there we go. So the next one, the Planning Commission approved the Tag and Go Car Wash. This is the one on, north of the park.
Yeah.
So the Tag and Go Car Wash will be the furthest north property, and then the three smaller buildings will be, they're going to Planning Commission next week. The building on the furthest south is a Beans and Brew, the middle one is a Swig, and the one on the north is a Goat barber shop. So.
That's great.
Fizz and.
Greatest of all
Swig.
time.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
So, all we need is So Delicious, so we got all three covered. The Planning Commission gave site plan approval and the conditional use permit and minor, and preliminary subdivision approval for the Tilia Court. This is going behind the Lindon Nursery. This was approved last week at Planning Commission. This will come to you at your next meeting for, final subdivision approval.
Taking a second. It worked on mine.
Let's see. The next two, down there on the corner of 700 North and Geneva, the Holiday Oil convenience store, that one's really close to opening. I think they're fixing a few things working on a few things with UDOT. For zoning, they didn't put in the right windows on the facade, so they're working on that. But other than that, they're really close. They've got some sod to put down as well. And then the other building is Davies Design Build, and they are still working on that, so they've been pretty slow on it. But then the final one, I think, Mill Haven Office Building, that's the one going in. They're on State Street, so that's under construction right now. And then the Go Health Office Building out there on Mountain Tech 5, I think, yeah, Mountain Tech 5, there on the corner. That one's currently under construction as well. So I think, actually, we got one more. These two were recently completed. The office warehouse building on the left is one by Joe Pilling. He built two of those. There's one in the back as well. And then the one on the right is Mountain Tech 6, and then there's another one behind it, Mountain Tech 7, one of Mark Weldon's developments, and they're just finishing up that as well. So I'd be glad to answer any questions if you have them for us.
You guys do a phenomenal job.
So the doTERRA building, has it been condominiumized? I'm saying that right?
So they're just doing they're not doing a condo, they're just
Okay.
doing a two-lot subdivision. And
Okay.
so we've approved that, and we recorded the plat last week.
Okay.
So they're keeping the warehouse, they're selling the office building.
And rumor has it they've got someone potentially coming. Have you heard any update on that?
No, haven't.
Okay.
Rich Doxley hasn't told us yet, so,
Okay, well, anyway, it should be exciting,
good.
so. Okay,
Hi.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For all the great work you're doing, and Phil, I know we're gonna wear you out.
Not yet.
Okay.
Hi, y'all. Alan sent, with regards to the pool, Alan sent a really great year-end report this year that I was debating whether or not we would include it in here. I mean, I would just like to show you, it's really good. And Alan, of course, is always here when we talk about the pool. So I took a lot of these facts and figures of the ways he did it and put it in here, because it does kind of give us a pattern of what does fuel the pool and what keeps the pool. We don't have the final numbers yet, but Kristen and I are working on those and we'll be working through those numbers. But you can see that the number of users per day, and the weather high totals, it's really the temperature that brings people to the pool. We anticipate it being a good year, last year being a good year financially as well as what we produced. So is there any particular numbers in here that you were interested in, or should we just go through them a little bit? You can see we had 39, 90 to 99 degree days. that really is the number one driver for people going to the pool. It's hot days. The monthly clicker is in and out, people going in. So you can see that we had about 71,000 people go through the pool, 71,500 people go through the pool this year. And July was our hottest time, temperature-wise as well as visit-wise. But we had to shut down a little bit early for the slide construction. How many days did we lose, Alan?
6.
Yeah, 6 full days. So I think our numbers would have even been better. And had the slide been put in on time, we were going to open it up for a couple of weeks, but everything gets delayed. So we're really close on that. The bottom of the page, you can see the Flow Rider admissions. We had an upswing in that. We had more Flow Rider participants this year, 3,300, 3,325. And the water rescues, this was a good one that Alan put in. Where are our quote-unquote dangerous spots? Our Wibbit had 10 rescues. A slide bottom had 10. Lap pool had 1. Activity pool had 4. And a Flow Rider had 1. These are not necessarily ambulance callers, but they're water rescues, a swimmer and
The Wibbit is the thing kids jump across?
right. And, you know, they get to the end and then they think they can swim or jump to the side and they can't make it. So that's called a rescue. You jumping in to help somebody. They're not in distress necessarily. You can just see that they're gonna be. And that dumps into the deep end. And so looks more intriguing than it'd probably be safe to use.
The slide bottom, I assume, is our big slide, not our kiddie slide.
Yeah, that's our yellow slide. Same deal. Child goes down and can't quite get to the shore. And so we have someone generally in the water there, but we count those as rescues, you know, if you assist someone. So we had a lot of programs and a lot of participants. We had 1,229 swim lesson participants this year. We had a pretty good number of private lessons, but we don't really advertise that. They usually come to us and ask for private lessons.
Now, is that 1,229, that's 1,229 different individuals, or is that one person went 10 times, you're counting all 10 times there?
It's per person, right? Individual, non-repeating.
That's how many classes we sold, so it could
Okay.
be
So that's a lesson.
Yeah.
A lesson. So they probably, a lot of people sign up for 2 or 3 sessions. So that would not repeat.
Okay.
Anything else on there? We do recertify our lifeguards and we have those are all programs. And so, and look at our senior water aerobics. That's been going on, but not very seriously. And yet we've had 421 visits for aerobics. So that's good.
So what was your general outlook on lifeguards this year? Do you feel
We had, yeah.
much better?
We had what we needed till pretty close to the end. We had quality, a lot better quality. You know, without me being in the trenches with them, maybe we ought to ask Alan what he thinks about lifeguards this year.
Really good. I think our returning staff was 70% to 80%. So somewhere in there of how many people returned. The pay increase that we did last year helped a ton.
Yeah.
And so we get a lot of people coming and wanting to work, so much so that we have to turn a lot of people away.
Great.
Like he said, the end of the season as everyone leaves and wants to have a summer, that's when it gets a little tough, but we managed. We did really good.
Good.
You can see there on that next one, the punch pass types, what we sold, 10 punch, 25 punch, and 50 punch passes. You can see the 10 punch pass is really where it goes. But look at the website sales and our facility sales. Alan we do a pre-sale, 2 months or 3 months, 2 months of pre-sale, and then we sell website online. And Alan, what program are we using for that?
We sell through our website, Wix.
Wix. So that's a little extra money, but you can certainly see people are more interested in doing that.
What, can you explain the 10 punch?
Yeah, the
number?
math on that just doesn't seem to work.
I think it just didn't sum
Yeah, we
the
didn't sum that
facility.
facility total. Yeah, I can see that. Alan, do you see that?
Yes, I'll fix it.
Yeah, that's,
So it truly was the 1331
Oh.
and the
yeah,
857?
correct, both together. Is there any others that look funny? No, they look pretty good
They look good.
across. We didn't sell as many flow passes as you would think, with as many flow people we've got. People just want to pay as they go, which is a question we need to consider, and in just a minute, I'm gonna ask a couple questions about moving on. So let's finish this up, and I'll ask you a couple of questions about the flow and party nights and stuff. Resident flow, lap fitness, employee free passes, and employee half-offs are all listed there. But here's a number that we really wanted to bring to you and show you that our shaved ice has kind of recouped its cost to get it there and fix it up, so. And we're not giving it away, but, you know, $2 for a small is pretty inexpensive, so we have a lot of people participate with us. Party room rentals, you can see on this one that the party room is still being rented, but the big thing that really helps us is when we have a swim add-on party, or the floor add-on to like a regular weekend party or a night party. That's just another $100 on top of the rental fee.
Remind me
That's
what we paid for the shaved ice.
$5,000.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah,
Those
and
are
then there was
great
some
return.
repair, and we had to buy a shave ice machine, and they're not giving them away, I found out. Yeah, we're certainly in the positive with that. And Alan, of course, you know Alan, he's very frugal with that stuff. We mix our own simple syrup and stuff to keep the price way low, and he buys concentrate, so it keeps the price of purchasing product really low.
Go Alan, way to go.
It's good, they love it. It's a great addition,
My kids love it.
yeah.
Can't go
So
without getting
a
it.
little status on the slide. The slide, we're still waiting for the plumber and electrician to come. They said that they would have it done by Wednesday of last week, Alan? Thursday of last week. And we're just waiting on that contractor to come in, but he's not pressed now that we know that we're not going to do anything. He's kind of kicking us down the road a little. But then we'll have the spring certification by Splashtacular Slide Builder in the spring, probably in April. First chance we can get clean water, they'll come out and they'll write it. And what they'll ask is they'll ask for 25 people to volunteer to write it and be the first writers and test it.
You got a council right here. They're ready
Come up.
and raring to go.
I opt out, thank you very much.
But if you've been over standing underneath it, we got a little ripper of a slide there. It'll be quick, fun. And hopefully the teenagers will capture more repeat visits in the teenagers. Any other questions on that? On just the facts and the figures? Again, the numbers will come. We'll show you the numbers when we're ready for that.
What speed will somebody be traveling at?
22 to 26 miles per hour.
Really?
It's a 6-second ride, 6-second ridership. But even when the installers were here installing, they were going, wow, whew, you got that pretty fast. And contrary to popular belief, you would think that to slow a slide down, what would you do if you wanted a slide to go slower? You actually add water to the flume. And so they were talking about ways they might have to add water to it because it might just be really quick and exciting. So Alan's giddy as a first day of school over there waiting for it. I've got a couple of things we need to ask you right now before.
I have a quick question
Yes.
on the pool. So overall, it looks like the visitors are really healthy, potentially increasing. We're adding amenities, classes. What is it looking like next year? Are you thinking you'll staff about the same? You might need to have a little bit more staff, and then managing all that staff. What does that look like going forward?
We had a really, and I will let you answer, Alan, but we had a really robust leadership staff this year. We had qualified people because we were paying a little bit more. We had people from other pools that left Lehigh and came up to manage our pool. I anticipate it at least being the same amount. Alan, do you have a different opinion of that?
I agree. The only one extra additional lifeguard for the top of the new slide, but other than that, we're just rearranging everything to try and keep it the same. someone sitting at the top, but we're trying to keep the same. So I think it'll be good. We had a lot of people who left, like Heath said, left Lehigh, left Orem, left a couple other pools to come to ours. They really enjoyed it. So I think it'll be good. Hopefully keep it about the same.
With,
Well, that-
with good experience too.
And that speaks volumes to the culture you guys have created too, the morale with the staff, so good job.
Two things of just quick business. Alan and I are in the middle of debating Thursday nights again on whether or not we want to have it a party night or an open swim night. We tried open swim and we kept them Monday and Thursday evenings for families, but I can some nights on Thursdays count on my fingers and toes after 6 p.m. how many people are there. If we make that available for rentals, we'll sell them. We'll sell them all.
I think you answered your own question, didn't you?
Now, I'm just, we talked about it a year ago or 2 years ago, and we didn't want to close the door on residents. We had one complaint. Gentleman said when we were selling them 2 years ago, a gentleman said, I can only come home and swim on Monday nights because I work and I can't come till after 6. But really, we watched it, and there's not any significant numbers. I think we would like to sell it.
Don't you have potentially 2 bookings possible per evening because of the light?
We
the light
don't,
amenity?
we just do 3-hour bookings now.
Okay,
Is that right? Yeah, we just-
Stop splitting it and just say you have a 3-hour minimum that you have to rent.
all right.
So-
So right now, sometimes, what is the starting time that some private groups begin?
It is Tuesday, Wednesday at 7. We close at 7. They start at 7:30 to 10:30. Friday, Saturday, we close at 6. Reservations can go 6:30 to 9:30 or 6:30 to 10:30.
They have an
So
extra
this
hour.
Thursday night would be close at 7, start reservations at 7:30.
We're leaning towards that, aren't we, Alan?
Yeah, if our numbers, if we sold every single Thursday night at the 3 hours, it would be about 16,000 extra dollars that could be into private rentals, versus the couple hundred that we would sell on admission. Maybe 1,000.
So, again, we're just trying to get ahead of the curve. We'll, we're, as an administration, as staff, I think we're going to go ahead and do that unless the council feels otherwise. I don't know if, that is a fee schedule thing, so the council will need to make that decision on that. Doesn't have to be tonight. However, the second thing is we're going to propose a fee increase on rentals as well. We have so many that are coming. It's not the Wards and the Stakes and mom and pop families. They can go to Pleasant Grove. These are big businesses that don't even balk at our price. And then they invite 1,000, 1,500 people. And we're thinking about coming back with a price increase and wondered how the council felt about looking at those numbers. Maybe, I don't know. We haven't looked at what would be fair, but maybe $100 instead of $5. Maybe it's $600 for an hour.
So you're talking about, would make that decision closer to our February cycle budget?
Yeah.
You're 100% booking all of the times right now.
We could have booked Thursday this year.
I think then it's a no-brainer. I think you want to be at that price where there's maybe 1 or 2 because it's so high that you're not getting them, but high enough that everyone else is paying it.
In the
So
fee
I
schedule, we
think
did
you're low
put that.
if you're getting that type of
Sorry,
turnout.
Jake, I stepped on you there. In the
Oh,
fee
you're fine.
schedule, it does say that I have the ability to bid a few special nights, but there isn't any special nights. I mean, they just fill up, and if that day's not taken, they'll take another day and another day and another day. So I think would evaluate that a little bit.
So Heath, in the past, you've opened up those rental reservations pretty early, like in January,
January,
haven't you?
yeah.
So we would need, if you're gonna change that fee, we would need to do that in the next 2 meetings.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we're right on it, aren't we?
We're in November.
Okay, I'll put something on an agenda, and Alan and I will do some work to see what is a fair, not gouging, but fair, good price for what we've got. And I'll bring it back if that's okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
one quick question. I know the one resident that said, hey, could you open up another family night? Because if people work, by the time they get home from work and they could potentially, use the pool, and it closes at 7, does that give them enough time? Or you felt like there wasn't adequate patronage or we could always consider leaving open swim to 7:30 with a party starting at 8. Is that even feasible, or is that too late to start a party?
The parties really want earlier, like if you could do it at 6:30 every night, that's what people would want the most, but, you know, it's tough because we are a public pool, we're here for the residents of Lindon and the community, and so to cut those hours short so that way we can make some more money, it's a toss-up, you know, there's not a ton of people who come late at night, truthfully. Monday nights they'll come because there's a family night discount, and we'll do activities Monday night to bring them in, but Thursdays are pretty slow. By about 8, it's not worth it to keep it open.
So 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10 is a bookable time, or 7:30 to 8:30, 9:30, 10:30. But if we leave it open, we're only going to capture 2 hours, and so we're right there on the tipping point, I
Border.
think.
So you talk about the fact that some of those you'll book on the later side slightly. What if we took Thursday and just leave our open swim open just another half hour longer and make the only time slot that's available for Thursday be the later of the booking?
It's very possible. The only thing we didn't do in our evaluation the last year and a half or 2 years is we didn't really count the heads from 6 to 10. But it goes down to, you know, sometimes under 15 individuals or 10 individuals that have got the whole pool to themselves all night long, and I'm spending $4,500 on staff. And so, yeah, we'll look at that. We'll certainly evaluate that.
Maybe just a half hour on that one Thursday, just so the only booking that you have booking slot is the little later one.
So, my pool's available. I'll take one for the city.
Will you?
You know, I mean, I'm looking at the numbers, and it really doesn't make a lot of sense for the city to lose that opportunity, because right now, you know, the city made a huge investment, and any way we can recoup a part of that investment over time, I think I would encourage us to try to do that, because.
Agreed. That's where we're at.
But in the same sense, I want to be sensitive to the citizens, and quite honestly, my pool's going to be up and running, and I mean, if we have families, Lincoln, you know that, they can come swim.
Why, huh?
I'm good. It'll help me
Yeah.
stay connected.
Alan and I have a mutual friend who's looking at a house to buy a pool. And Alan went especially up there to show them the house, to not buy the house with the pool because they're too expensive to run. But that was funny. Okay, I'll be back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, and next time, if you wouldn't mind giving me a report on the ice cream, how we doing, or is it?
Oh, yeah, it's a big seller. We can't get the product. It was a tough year to get the product.
Well, talk to me. We can help there, seriously. Hey, who's next? Oh, is that Kristen?
So I was gonna introduce you to our new staff. So I went 16 years without having to hire a full-time employee because the longevity that my employees are staying here. So Kathy Bird retired in December a year ago, and she had been working here 19 years. And then Donna retired in April. She'd been here over 16 years. And then Sherry passed away suddenly, and she had been here 17 years. So we lost over 52 years of experience in the last 12 months. Shelley Church was our part-time receptionist, and she got full-time downstairs. So I had to replace the entire staff in the finance office in the last 12 months. And so our new staff is Rebecca Gibbons is our treasurer, and she was actually hired in December to replace Kathy in accounts payable. And then when Donna retired, she was doing such an awesome job that we put her up to treasurer. And Heather Hartman joined us in June as the utilities clerk, and Callie Jenkins joined us also in June as the accounts payable clerk. With her, we had done the interviews and offered her the position, and she was giving her employer a 2-week notice. And so she wasn't going to be starting until later in June. And then with Sherry's sudden passing, we asked if there was any way she could start earlier, and her boss was understanding, and so she was able to start right away. And then Shelley Wilson started in January as our receptionist and part-time. And just to let you know, utilities clerk, that's pretty, the other jobs are pretty, you understand what they're doing by the job title. With the treasurer, Rebecca is custodian over the actual money. So she has the bank accounts, and whereas I do the books, and so I've got the financial reporting, and I account for things on paper, and so there's that separation of duties, so that there's no question about what's going, the money's moving, there's two people over it. And then she spends a lot of her time on payroll. That's her main job. So any questions?
They seem great. I've gotten to know Rebecca and Heather pretty well over there, coming over to the bank. The tellers love them. They're so fun to have come in, and they just seem like they've been absolutely great.
Yes, we work so well together, and
Good.
it's just everyone is a good fit and is doing their job well, and And then we're adding a new position. We're going to be interviewing tomorrow for the assistant finance director.
Yeah, I just can't express our appreciation enough for you in such a challenging time and your commitment. And I just want you to know and understand our appreciation for you and your loss. And we're with you.
Thank you.
We're there to support you.
Yep, it has been a hard year.
How many applicants filed for that position you're starting to interview tomorrow?
20.
Yeah, more than 20 qualified, 7 to 8.
Still pretty good.
Good sample.
We'll see what we get tomorrow. So we hope somebody fits. But.
Yeah, there was very few that had government accounting experience. There was more private industry.
Looking forward, what do you see on the horizon? It's interesting. Planning department said, hey, we're getting everything online. You've probably been online for a while, paperless, but things like that to streamline, or new technology that's coming, or you see best practices in other cities.
Yes.
Do you see anything like that you have your
One
eye
of the
on?
exciting things is that I'll be able to look at some of that and more, but one thing that I am working on is getting the budget book online that's very user-friendly, and lots of charts and graphs and historical data versus what's coming up, so it's a lot easier to use.
Right.
Yeah. Yep, and then working on getting the department heads access to information online also. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next.
So Heath and Ellen, as he comes up, and I think I mentioned this to you before, the shave ice machine, I've got another one, so if it works for you, we can work something out.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good to see you and talk to you again. Always a pleasure. So what I am here to talk to you about, I think Adam, in the past couple of meetings, he already turned in our reporting on what's been happening, our data, burials type thing. So I wanted to tell you what we're working on as a department. So I actually printed 4-5 pages of this document. Just a quick summary of what's going on. I'm going to cover page 2, 3, and 4 at the end, so we can flip through the pages later. So I'm going to start with streets. On the streets, we finished the 2020 maintenance program. Great quality, great contractor. They went above and beyond of what we gave them as a contract. And we had just 2 complaints on the seal code happening on 4th North and about 350 East. They had to reschedule a couple of times because of weather, and then in the process, some people couldn't get to their home. So, and then we bent over backwards to help them. One of them was moving actually that day, so we had to make special arrangements to get him access. We installed today is the first day that we fire up the signs on 4th North and Locust. We put a couple of message boards. I had, for a week to give them time for people to get used to it. But then we also put, when those signs go away, we were still afraid that people might forget about it. So we added a temporary small sign kind of in the middle of the road to bring extra attention besides the flashing sign. So I think that's, I went and monitored it this morning to see how people were getting used to and didn't seem to have any problems. But if you hear of any, let me know. The street lights, I received a few complaints, and we have a ton of work orders to process. So I started digging into that, of who owns the lights, where's our inventory type thing. I set up a meeting with Rocky Mountain Power, and their person in charge of just street lighting services came over to my office and gave us a lot of information that we didn't have. Actually provided us with a map with every street light, with a code, and who owns it. There are some that are completely owned by Rocky Mountain, there are some that are completely owned by us, and there are some that are shared ownership and maintenance. It started with the one on 4th North that is kind of growing in between the pine trees over there, and actually we have bigger problems because there's a transmission line that goes
in the same spot.
So we're trying to be very tactful in the approach because a lot of those trees either need to be cut down or have a big hole kind of bored through it. But with that, I found a few other discrepancies, not only with the street lights, but also with who's paying for what. There is some, the bill is split by government buildings, parks, water, sewer, and so forth. So there are some properties that water is paying for stormwater, and stormwater is not paying anything. Parks is paying all their power bills. So I'm in the middle of dissecting that, and then there's 3 accounts that have being billed to the city that we don't have any property close by, so we've been paying that, and we're just kind of getting to the bottom of that. With engineering, we are in the process of finishing the asset management software that we implemented, tracking work orders and also service histories and also inventories, and we already have the water completely going by itself, sewer. We're in the middle of stormwater, and then the next phase is going to be street signs, street lights, and how to track public works permits. So we'll be able to have a very good history of who did what, when, and how the problems got solved. And once we get that going, then we can start probably adding the response time to each one of those, which is very important for being responsive to our residents. We are in the process of doing master plans. Stormwater, it's at the top of my list, and we're about done with that. Water and PI is moving smoother, and we should have a finished product by February. And at that time, hopefully, I'll have all the projects that I can include on our budget for capital plan and put it on how our fees should look like to pay for some of those projects and continue maintenance. So very excited to have those complete. Engineering is also working on bigger projects, the capital improvement design of, we're in the process of interviewing consultants that have good experience with street design and they're coming with some ideas that we can later present to you on beautification. And we're also working on the Canal Drive multi-year project to do the water line replacement and also do the full reconstruction of the road. And at the top of the list, even though it's a small project, we're to have the 725 East irrigation line, pressurized irrigation line to be able to get the adequate flow to the condos or twin homes on Second South.
Can I just compliment you, though? I mean, I looked almost every day or every other day at the concern for the grass there, and I think they had some of the greenest lawns all season long. So I know that was no small effort. That took a lot of work, and
Yes.
anyway.
We did some good coordinating between the school and the property owner there. And we can keep working that way, but after looking at our model, there is definitely a restriction, and if for some reason the watering schedules change, then we'll have the same complaint. So we're gonna go ahead and invest on the upsize of that line.
Yeah, I think we ought to have a sit-down with him again,
Okay?
just to kind of evaluate and then just keep him in the loop how we're
Or- yeah.
moving forward, so.
I've already exchanged emails with them at the end of the
Thank you.
season, and we'll keep them in the loop. On the cemetery, we've had a lot of deaths, a lot of burials, and a lot of sales. So we are just right at the 70%, and I think it's time to start doing the planning, not to build the expansion next year, but at least get the plans, get some feedback of what we want the rest of it to look like. And then also I'm working with Phil on getting somebody to help us do the design of the storage, equipment storage, and possibly adding one bathroom or two to the area, so we can better serve during events and burials.
There's not a bathroom there now for the public, is there?
No.
There isn't.
Sometimes that's pretty important after
Yeah.
a long day, and you finally ending there.
And we do have already the sewer and the water stubbed in the property, so it should be pretty, something to
During
think about.
Memorial Weekend, we bring in a portable, and I'm not sure how long we leave that. Is it all summer, or is it just that weekend?
2 or 3 weeks is all.
Yeah, but if we're gonna have a building there for us, it's
Storage.
probably easy to throw a bathroom. We'll try to make it good quality and with the most responsible way of using our money. That is on the administration and engineering. Any questions from that part? On the water side, drinking water, we did really good with well number 4 after we had our issues at the beginning of the year. It ran flawlessly. We're finishing, I'll touch on the SCADA. But our production on that well is fantastic. We are only running it at about 1,300 to 1,500 gallons a minute, and we have the capacity to crank that baby up to about 2,400. But it's not, we're able to keep up at that amount. So that's, we're monitoring our aquifer levels to make sure, see where our aquifer sustains, and see if we can exploit that aquifer possibly with another well in the same location just for redundancy, because if we don't have that well number 4 like we experience, we might not have the water needed, but the master plan will cover that. We had fewer main line breaks the rest of the summer. That is attributed to the good maintenance that the PRVs are receiving now. They're being constantly checked and adjusted, and that's a big compliment to the water crew, that they really take ownership and they really don't want to be working late at night. We just have 2 more sampling stations to complete. We're going to finish them, but then we switch gears and we installed power and a fiber optic line to our upper tank, which is the 2 million gallon tank, to be able to monitor with SCADA and be able to have better, more reliable communication. We were able to install it ourselves, saving about $30,000 just on labor costs to have the excavation done. So our guys stepped up and in about 4 days period installed the line, and we're just working with Rocky Mountain Power and with Utopia. The Utopia bid came about $15,000. After we installed the line, they actually gave us the fiber to install it, and then they come and terminate it for $700. And the power is the same way. It was a over $30,000 project, and we're gonna end up paying about $7 for that. So that was good from our water guys. They said we can do it. Our secondary water, after all the scare that we have of a water shortage, we reached out to our residents. They responded very well. We saw the decreased use of water. And then we were also planning to just use the remainder of our storage that we have with Central Utah. We have about 924 acre feet. So I just divided what we had remainder and says, okay, from here to the end of the season, we need about 3 acre feet per day. We had the Provo River cut down to 30% of the natural flow. And on that last month, we started getting rain, cooler temperatures. The Provo River started running at 100% of the flow. So we actually ended up carrying forward 1,200 acre feet of water for next year when we started the year with 844 acre feet of storage. So we increased, we didn't only use it, but we carried forward another 600 acre feet. So that was kudos to all of our residents and
Mother Nature.
to Mother Nature.
Yeah.
All the prayers were answered for sure. I attended a water summit, and the topic was drought in Utah, and the emphasis was on metering, conservation, and landscaping ordinances. The South, St. George, Washington cities already using these ordinances, and after we get the meters push done with, the next thing that we're gonna see is probably landscaping ordinances and better use of water-wise plants and things. The outlook is that and we started really good this water year. We already have a pretty good snowpack, but they're saying that we need about 140% of the average to be able to fill a reservoir. So keep praying, fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll have enough.
Did they show the statistics that's possible we're gonna be trending more towards drought type?
Yes, but the trend is on the past 10 years, we've actually, only 3 years were normal, and the trend
We're gonna be seeing more drought
It's going down.
potentially. I wanted to share with you, this was an initiative that the City of American Fork did. In their newsletter, they just said, your efforts helped save American Fork 801 million gallons of water. They kind of had like a big education plug, and this is sort of the results they had in 1 year, which was really impressive. So I know you've been talking about education, to get everyone to kind of be on board, and all those great things. It'd be fun to have a community-wide effort like that.
We will put out
Yeah,
an
and
education
announce
packet.
some of these good things.
Yes. Good comment, Carolyn, thank you. On sewer, we are in the process of going out to an RFP for pipe rehabilitation. This is where we're gonna reline the pipes from the inside. We're gonna focus on the areas that we already have experienced blockages with roots and infiltration. So that should be done here in the next month or so we can put a project together. We're also,
Excuse me, do you think you'll get the RFP back, or are you just getting the proposals from companies to do it?
yeah, proposals for companies in the next 2 weeks, and then we'll advertise it, and then we'll give them another 3 weeks, and then we'll start the selection process. I'll bring you more information on that because it's a really interesting process and not very intrusive. We don't dig roads or anything like that, so it's a good thing. Lift station number 4, we're also just putting out an RFP for modifying the building and installing new generator. On the stormwater, we are working on pretreatment inlets retrofitting. So this is before all the water is collected and discharged into a retention area. We want to clean the water to keep it from having to pick up garbage from the bigger ponds. So we're going to be installing these pretreatment larger facilities, so everything collects there. So instead of going and cleaning 2,000 inlets, we go to 10 or 12 locations, and then we just do all our cleaning right there, and that'll free up time for our employees and not beat up our equipment so much, make it more efficient. We're also looking at modifying some of the detention basins for capacity they haven't been, with all the water that comes in, comes sediment, and then the grass just keeps getting taller and taller, so we're losing capacity. So we're gonna be exploring some ways of not having these detention basins have so much grass and irrigation, because on top of that, we have to mow it, and then we saturate the soil, and when the storm comes, not much water goes into the ground. It just pretty much goes out. But if we can do a double detain, infiltrate, and then some of the water goes out, it's gonna be one of the pushes to work on those detention basins. They'll still look nice. We're not gonna just kill all the grass, but we might go with a grass that doesn't need as much water, and if it's not in a park, just for detention, we'll probably install some of that, looking at those different grasses. And then, of course, once the master plan comes in, we have some money to start working on some of those projects to alleviate flooding from Phil's neck of the woods, where the water just kind of going over the banks, and we're not damaging any property, but it's dumping the banks and jumping into the street, and at that point, we don't want it to happen that way. We want to keep it into the conveyance channels. And then the other item in the agenda today is the stormwater management plan. This is a big document that gets renewed every 5 years. We got audited on it, and they kind of pointed that we needed to do some corrections, so we kind of rewrote the whole plan with help of somebody I know and has done this before, and I think it's going to be a better document to present to the state. Okay, and then the next page, we can just now turn to the personnel page. And remember how I came earlier in the year? We consolidated the positions for superintendents. So now we just have 2 superintendents as supervisors, and then we have our city engineer that also takes care of our inspectors and staff engineer. So the way I want to do it is that no one supervisor has more than 5 to 7 people to supervise, because then it kind of gets too wide. So I supervise Paul Miller, which is our stormwater superintendent and sewer superintendent. And then I oversee Denise Brassfield, that is in charge of our office administration. She's the traffic controller, does an awesome job. Takes care of the cemetery, work orders, and now we're also taking over the street light monitoring and the water meter work orders and things. Over Gary, which is our specialist, he kind of does everything on the street, sign, cemetery. Noah Gordon, and then we have Matt Windward, which is over the street maintenance, does all the potholing, and also does all our water repairs. Kyle Jensen, which used to be under the water department, got promoted to water system. Oh, he's not the operator. I made a mistake there. He is now our SWEP inspector and blue stake technician, so he'll be taking care of all that. And in his place, we hired Quinn Arnoldson. He's been with us 3 weeks now, and he works underneath the water crew. Also, Tyler Pritchett, which is on the sewer side, he got promoted to our lead sewer operator, not lean. Man, I made a lot of typos there. On the next page is all the equipment that you have helped me buy for the street maintenance. We did eliminate a lot of equipment. It wasn't just buying. We eliminated some vehicles, some trailers, and we actually were using our new hot box today, doing patching around the city. And so thank you for supporting our efforts. And on the next page is our SCADA. So it finally came in. The map there shows the city with the blue dots are different facilities. And I just put some picture screen captures from what the facilities look like. So now the sewer lift station now has the pumps, and then they turn green or blue depending if they're running. They show me how many gallons they're pumping. If there is a default, we can start them remotely with our phones, and then we can also do the same with all the wells. And so it's a much better way of managing our system. And the system is about 80% complete. We're expecting to have this completed by the end of November. So, and that is all I have. The last page we're gonna leave for after we do the presentation on the
Secondary water.
secondary water.
Fantastic. I have a question for you. Attending the summit this week, I sat by someone and have been reading up on the topic with the lake. You know, it has a high nutrient load sometimes and nitrates that lead to the algal blooms, and they're trying to improve the health of the lake. And there's a lot of research now that what cities allow down the stormwater drain, if there's leaves and nutrient-dense organic material, that increases that nutrient load in the lake. How often or do we do just street cleaning, especially this time of year when there's a lot of fall leaves everywhere?
Yes, so the street sweeping happens, we try to do it twice citywide, but then we do leaf sweeping. So the last one that we do in about September, October is to pick up garbage, cans. So when the leaves come and we go sweep all the leaves, then we can able to recycle the leaves as clean as we can. So we pretty much do the whole city 3 times.
So there's cleanings just spread out through the calendar year at different seasons, and they try to touch every street once.
And in residential, where there's not a lot of garbage, we probably do them once, and then on the busy roads, we do 3 or 4 times before the leaf season. But by the time, just before the leaves start to fall, we should have a pretty good cleaning of the streets, so we're not picking up garbage with leaves, and because all the leaves we end up taking to get recycled in the compost. And we're gonna.
We doing it again this year?
Are you doing it, or do you have?
Yeah,
time?
that's what I'm gonna ask. Do I have a truck?
Garbage
We
bags.
have you a truck
on the
ready.
roads.
Okay, I'll come get it.
I just didn't know if you were gonna have time.
No, I get up early in the morning,
Okay, yeah.
and that's a good time to do it because there's no traffic and the bags are there, so.
Yeah, we already have some bags out there.
There are a few out, yeah.
So we will get our crews out there, and if you're up for it.
So do you have it ready for me?
Yeah,
I can come get it, right?
yeah. When you want it tomorrow?
Are we gonna, yeah.
Okay.
Are we gonna stack them
At the same place.
the same place we
right
did
there
last year? Okay,
In that corner at the Public
Super.
Works yard.
thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for me? I think I took too much time.
Thank you so much. So impressive, just what you've organized with all the systems and just being so responsive to all the myriad of issues, and the quantity of tickets that items that you're tackling and with your team and your department is awesome.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Make this as quick as we can, because you guys hear from me way too much as it is. Just really quickly, I do want to spend most of my time talking about the Justice Court, but I just wanted to report something I thought was pretty awesome. Every year with the audit, I have to give a legal opinion letter regarding potential lawsuits and potential claims. And this includes both civil litigation and personal injury, things that happen on city property at the pool or wherever. For the first time since I started doing this, I started working on the civil side of stuff here in Lindon in 2003.
the first time, as I got ready for this letter, I reported 0 anticipated cases filed, and no pending cases. So my letter was just very short and sweet this
Careful now.
time. So yeah, knock on wood. But that's the first time that's happened since I started working here in 2003. So pretty awesome. But what I really wanted to talk about today is just the transition that's going on in the Justice Court. I don't know how many of you know, you probably do, that Spencer, our longtime court clerk, I don't know how long Spencer worked here, probably 10?
About 8 years, I think.
About 8 years. He finally got his degree in public administration, his master's degree, and he left us and went into the private sector. And so we have transitioned over, and I should have had a picture of Brittany, but most of you know Brittany Laitler. She's been our part-time clerk for so long, and the transition has just gone very, very smoothly. The state keeps records on how justice courts are handling their court dockets. COVID has been very difficult in many ways, but it's been a blessing in a lot of ways because we have established an online court system that frankly we're going to continue. I know for the last year and a half, all of our courts have been over this program called WebEx, where people are able to log on at school, at home, at work, wherever they're at. And speaking with Judge Sessions, we're going to continue that for the majority of our court cases. We will be holding in-person court once a month now. On the first Thursday of each month, we'll be coming in person. But we're going to continue on because it's been so effective. The Justice Court, the administrative office of the courts, track how justice courts are handling their caseloads. And traditionally, if we can get through our cases at about a 75 to 80% clip, they're very happy with us. If we're moving, we've got so long to handle each type of case. And if we can get a case through in that time, it marks off as in our favor. Again, 75 to 80% is what we traditionally have been doing over the last 20 years that I've been doing this. And this last year, we were at 101% because we were able to go back and clear out cases. We're getting a hold of people who are logging on and getting involved. So it's been a great process that way. And if any of you would like to just get on and see how Judge Session is doing things, to see how me and John Jacobs, the public defender, are handling the cases, just let me know and I'll send you a link for any court case that you'd like to attend. District court cases right now, district court is still all online. They haven't given us an idea of when we'll go back except for jury trials. Jury trials will be held in person, but it's quite a complicated process of bringing in all of the potential jurors online in the morning. We do that all online so we don't have a whole bunch of people in the courtroom. But then when the jury trial actually starts, we'll actually be back in court, and we're excited and looking forward to that too. But anyway, that's where we're doing. Brittany's doing an awesome job. The transition has been seamless, smooth and seamless. She's come up with some great innovative ideas on how to make things go even better. So we're really pleased.
So how's the judge feeling about it? Is he happy?
I think he's very happy.
Good.
He's very pleased, and he's a hardworking judge.
Yeah.
He's a very
Made a
hardworking
good choice.
judge. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Some cities employ like a junior intern attorney to handle, say, the low-level tickets and things like that. You
Right.
talked about caseload. Caseload right now is, do you
Yeah.
see in the future that being something like an intern type opportunity being
That
advantageous?
could be, as an intern, we might look at that. But luckily, again, things are running pretty smoothly. We're pumping out about 60 to 75 cases a week through there with this system. We do have, it's just over 1,900 open cases. But again, the filings this last year were about 3,300 cases. Vast majority are traffic. A lot of those people, if you times 60 by we don't have court every week, but about by 50, it's well under the total. Most of those tickets are coming in and getting paid online and just taken care of that way. But we have 3 agencies that feed into this court. We've got the UHP gives us a ton of tickets off of our stretch of I-15. We have the Utah County, of course, we have a great police department that's doing a great job. So, but that's something that we could certainly look into. It's not something that we probably really need at this point, but giving somebody an opportunity to be involved with that would not be a bad thing, so. Any other questions?
Council?
Thank you.
Okay, awesome, thanks.
Good work.
I'm glad we have you in-house. That was a good decision. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate our department heads coming in and doing this periodically and giving you an update on things. We have a very good leadership team. I appreciate all their efforts.
Thank you for spending an evening with us. Now go home. No, you don't have to go home. I mean, if you want to go home, okay? Okay, let's go ahead and do council reports. Van, you want to start us off?
Sure. For those of you that are BYU football fans, they have a Y lighter each game. Jim Dane was the lighter at the last game. Pretty cool to see him honored, and he's retiring from BYU.
he is
at the end. You
retiring.
probably knew that, but that was pretty fun to see on, and that was kind of fun to see their enthusiasm. And just as a follow-up, this Thursday, we'll have our next Central Utah Water Conservancy District meeting with looking at options for secondary water delivery. Hopefully, we've got those water loss studies actually that will show up for this meeting.
Okay, thank you. Jake?
Went to the F45 ribbon cutting day. It's a brand new business here in Lindon, just down the hill. It's a functional 45. It's a new type of gym. Good to be part of those new businesses. Had several neighbors approach me on 40th South in Lindon on the speed there, some speed mitigation. Juan, just want to put that on your radar, and maybe you and I can sit down and chat about their concerns there. A lot of speed. I think maybe Google Maps changed what they were doing because they're getting a lot of the trucks on Stacy are going up. It's a pretty small road, but they said all of a sudden the flip switched and every truck with new cars on the back is coming up that road. I don't know that there's much we can do about that, but then apparently they're coming pretty quickly. The speed mitigation is really what we probably need to discuss. So that's all I have.
Okay, Randy?
Thank you, Mayor. I attended with a thoughtful extension of an invitation from Chief Brower. It was the JRI, which is the Justice Reinvestment Initiative that was held, it's a listening tour that was held at the Utah State Hospital. It's a wonderful group of legislators and committee members who are trying to make sure that we are having the best practices for the different levels of offenders. And Chief Brower made some good points to tell the committee. Anything you could share with us, Mike, on what your feelings of that meeting was?
Sure, just, I think statewide with this Justice Reinvestment Initiative, we've seen low bills. It's hard to keep repetitive individuals accountable. So that discussion was just an open forum to talk about where we are with that legislative arm that produced that bill and what they're looking at to improve it.
They're traveling the state trying to just get some most anecdotal information as well as data to help with that. And we heard from a wide variety of individuals, and it got kind of passionate at times. But everyone mind their P's and Q's because there were several chiefs of police in the room, so it went well. Also attended with some of you the Trunk or Treat, which was a fabulous event, estimating over 2,000, correct? I know I went through my basket of candy awfully quick, and but a lot of really adorable children that were there. It was well attended, and yeah, my grandchild who tagged along got to see what community service is about because it wasn't as fun as he was hoping it would be because he was helping with the whole event on our end. But so fabulous turnout. Tomorrow is the Public Works Coordination meeting. I'll be attending that with Juan and the mayor. Will you be there as well?
I'll be on Zoom.
Very good.
Yeah.
We invited Van to
Nice.
come and learn
It's your old stomping grounds van. Right? Also, looking forward to having a kickoff here on November 29th for our, what we're calling is the most wonderful time of the year celebration. Be the kickoff for all of our events that citywide for our Christmas celebrations. So it'll be an introduction to what we're having for the Santa Parade, and then what is the Saturday event called? I'm calling it Rolling with Santa, but it's not Rolling with Santa. I know, that's why I was calling it Rolling with Santa, so it's a pastry treat in Santa that'll be on Saturday, the 11th. No, not the 11th, is it? I don't have that date, and then also the Historical Commission will be doing their official tree lighting ceremony as well. So you'll have that will be on the 7th, 6th, Monday, the first Monday. But next council meeting, you'll be all getting some more detailed information.
Calendar them.
Yep, and so go ahead.
That is a council meeting night.
It's one of the items I needed to bring up. That is
On
the
the
first
29th?
Monday. No, on the Historical Commission.
The Historical
So
Commission.
we have a meeting scheduled for that night. That's the first Monday of December, has traditionally been the historical tree lighting ceremony over there. Do we want to just cancel that meeting? Do you want to reschedule? What's your thoughts?
I think we could reschedule, or we could have it there
Yeah, I
and
think,
have it afterward.
I think it's not going to be the big event that historically we've done. Is that correct, the tree lighting?
It's going to be
We
the
have,
same.
do we have choirs? We don't, do we?
I don't think he's been able to find a choir.
That's what he said.
It'll be a little bit smaller, but we would expect you to.
A good gathering, and I plan to be there. It may be a shorter window that we could fit that in and still do council if you want to do a little later.
Council, a later version of it.
So that usually starts at 6, I think, right? So 6 or 6:30? Seems like it's 6.
I mean,
Council, it's
whatever you want to do.
7:30. You want to do that?
I'm up for whatever.
7? I mean, if there's no singing, that's going to be a short event.
Probably. Okay, 7 o'clock? Okay.
You think that'll work, Keith?
Yeah, I'll just let Mr. Lamoureux know.
Just make sure that's going to work for him.
If that program goes more than 30 minutes, I would really be shocked.
Yeah, it'll be short.
That's December 6th.
And it's not like we need to be there for the whole duration to the last hot chocolate cup is emptied, right? And I know you're big on your going for a second round on your hot chocolate. You might have to bring it with us, right?
Yes.
Right? And then my last thing is I've had some residents reach out and say, how do they find out about information about when they're watching this online, how it corresponds? They can't see the particular items on this board over here on the television. And I was thinking that could we possibly put in the descriptions how they could link to our city website so they could actually see the staff packets or the staff agenda, or the agenda. So maybe they could do a little bit of research into that. Since it's already an online information, we just put into the description on YouTube.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, we can put a link in there to.
Where they can just find the information. I think
Yeah.
it'd just be an easy little plug-in so that they could see the staff packet and follow along if they choose to.
Yeah, it would be out the description of each meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can do that.
okay. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Great. Okay, I just want to give a thank you to our engineers, Noah and Trent, who followed through on that four-way stop on Locust and 400 North with residents that had kind of talked about wanting better safety for the kids going to school and the horses getting to the arena and bicyclists and pedestrians trying to get to the city pool and city center park. So that's a great thing. That's they were very open and willing to do the traffic warrants and the study. Talked with Juan tonight about just when there could now be striping painted for sidewalks would probably be the next step, and he shared that it's all needs to correspond with the improvement of sidewalk curb and gutter getting to a couple corners there. So And then I had the opportunity with Mayor to attend the Utah Valley Growth and Prosperity Summit all day Thursday. Just the Valley Visioning has been a long, ongoing project with many cities and entities and resident communication and input about just the growth that we're going to have here in the Valley. One of the things that they had at the end was they had a compact that they were looking for folks to sign. And a conversation that I had was with some of the groups of folks was what we'd like to see is maybe the county commissioners review that compact and then have them come visit the individual cities if they would like a resolution to be signed so that we can all become more informed about what that compact is that they're looking. And maybe Mayor has some comments in regards to this as well.
The chamber is pushing forward that compact, and so I don't know that we'd have to wait for the commission to move on that. We could review it, and I think it's principally based, and we ought to have them come and present to us, the chamber. I think that'd be helpful for the council to understand what their vision is, and it's smart growth, knowing that the growth's coming, and fundamentally, I think we'd be consistent with what they're trying to do. So, and then we could come up with a resolution to support it. So, we can just invite.
This is different than Envision Utah and different
Well,
than
it's
the other thing that we've done
Valley
recently. is
Visioning
the Valley
Compact.
Visioning.
And it's specifically for Utah County, for the municipalities that are here. And I think I'd love to have them reach out and come and visit us as a council, get on our agenda. And I think it's helpful and just see if we're in line with supporting that. So thanks, Cameron.
Very good. And then the Avalon residents, as you know, many of them it's a 55-plus apartment complex. There's residents there, a good number of them that do not drive or minimally drive, and they love using the bus and the transit, but they do not have a dedicated. The bus stop currently is closer down the hill, just right there in front of the church that's adjacent to Los Hermanos. And so some of those residents, I think one of them may have reached out to you, Mayor. Did you see an email about getting a covered stop maybe for those residents? She said right now the bus drivers typically out of courtesy will stop for them in front of Avalon, but they are out in the elements and they would love to see a covered. And wondering what your advice is about, is that the best place for a covered protected stop to be, or should it be where there's maybe residential users?
Yeah, I'm scheduled to meet with them at 4:00 tomorrow. The particular individual I'm talking with is legally blind, and I've invited her to be a part of what we call the CAT committee at UTA, which tries to address ways that the service that UTA provides can be more accessible to those that have disabilities, that they can function. And so, I'll give you a report after I meet with them tomorrow. And I'm glad that they're interested in continuing to use transit. And so we'll try to put that on the table and see what the best solution is for them. So
Wonderful. That's fantastic. And we had a Meet the Candidates night at Spring Gardens, attended by Jake and Van, and I were there along with Cole Hooley. And one of the things that was brought up by some of the folks that were there in attendance was street light issues, which Juan is already on top of, and then also the neighborhood. There's a wall that divides between Walmart and then going west there, and you've seen those photos about cutting in a ramp so it's ADA accessible for the Spring Gardens residents. I'm sure Van reported on that. Okay, that's wonderful. And then finally, there were some individuals that I met who would love to be sponsored by Lindon City to have a chapter of the Veterans of Foreign Wars here, be able to meet. They're looking for a place to meet. There's a chapter that already kind of encompasses the Provo-Orem area, and it's more the north cities are looking for a home. And we have a Veterans Hall. They would just be simply looking for a place to meet once a month. And in exchange for that, they would be able to provide services in our community. Members of our community could join that, as well as American Fork and the neighboring cities. And they provide really incredible things such as honor guard at funerals. They could help with our Memorial Day services. So instead of our officers being on paid time for our special Memorial Day service, they would provide those services there, patriotic services, parade, all sorts of in-kind efforts. So I said I would bring it up in council meeting and just get a feel for how our council and mayor might feel about that.
So I'd ask our police officers, do you enjoy doing that? Do you want someone else to do it?
I think the majority of our officers enjoy that, but also as far as a flag and that would be more of a veterans line, so I appreciate that. But there's ways if that's something the council would like, we can work together on.
Yeah.
Right. They would just be willing to, they're not saying they would take over anything. That's just, those are the things they could offer to support. So I know through our Parks and Rec, sometimes we've had groups get a mini grant, and then that is basically how they pay for the rental use of the community center room, or if they have some sort of relationship or in-kind donation that can happen. So just wanted to put that out there as a possibility that Lindon could maybe be a home for Veterans of Foreign Wars chapter here.
I think we can talk about it, yeah.
Okay. They are willing to come and do a presentation if you'd like to hear it.
I wonder if is it the same gentleman that was at the conference?
Well, Craig Thorne is the one you probably know, but it's actually another gentleman that heads up this particular chapter that would come.
Let me talk with Heath and see if there's a way we can fit that into those mini grants. And what we've tried over several years to phase out what I'm going to call sweetheart deals on rentals that became difficult to regulate. And so we had groups that were coming in and said, hey, this is our night to use the building, and it has been for a lot of years, and they weren't paying anything, and we were struggling to get them to complete meaningful service that was of benefit. And so I think we painfully phased out of several of those. And so if there's a way to fit them within the box and find through a grant or something that, or some other method that we can accommodate them, but it's a hard thing to say, we're gonna let this group use the building for free, but not another group that's asking to use the building for free. And I've been approached recently within the last couple of months by a group that wants to use the vet hall for free and offered the same thing, a trail users group. Nice cause. I don't know what they would do in Lindon City. And so just throwing that out there, that gets to be problematic. I think we had probably half a dozen at one point groups that were kind of in that category. And so let me talk with Heath and see if we can fit something into that mini grant program. I think would, anyway, maybe that gets us in there where, yeah, they're being paid for through this other option. So we'll see.
Okay.
All right, that's all
Is that
I
it?
have.
Okay. And Heath, I just want you to know that your trunk and treat covers the valley. As I talk to people, where are you from? Lehigh. Where are you from? American Fork. Where are you from? And the lineup on Center Street was impressive. I mean, you had the big group going around, but there were people lining up going east, trying to get into that circle to where they could be a part of it. So amazing, just simply amazing. And we had perfect weather, so thank you for all the great work on that. So it was wonderful. Okay, Adam?
Before we get too far off of this, so Heath let me know, Lyle texted him and said that they are planning on 6:30 on December 6th to start. And so 7:30 here for the council meeting. Does that work for you guys still?
To be safe, that's probably.
Okay, let's do that. So that is December 6th at 7:30. Kathy, does that work? Okay. Just a reminder on our fall cleanup, November 11th through 22nd, we'll have dumpsters at 5 locations, and we're still being told that they're short on dumpsters, and so we have put out on Facebook that any utility accounts can pick up 1 additional dump pass, which allows 2 trips per pass. And so we've had several residents come in and pick up the extra dump pass, and those are good through the rest of the year. I think that's all I have for tonight, so.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and move to the open session. Anyone here to address the council on any topic that's not on the agenda?
Not on the agenda?
Yeah,
How about something that's on the agenda?
then we'll get to that. Yeah, we're happy to do that. Okay. Seeing no public comment, let's go ahead and move to item number 8, which is review and action on the 2021 Stormwater Management Program.
Juan's gonna run you through this here. So we have a resolution that's prepared here. This resolution, if passed, allows our DRC and Public Works Department to make changes to the stormwater management program as needed. So this is adopting it for the next several years. What we emailed to you separately from it was several PDFs that Juan prepared and we sent out Saturday morning. And so really quickly, I'm gonna just throw those in front of you so you guys can see this. So it was multiple chapters of that plan that weren't included in the staff report. In the staff report, we did have the resolution and then the plan overview, followed by the actual MS4 permit that is issued by the state.
So if you go to the overview, to the first page right there. Yeah, so this is a quick summary. This is our 3rd term for this permit. So starting 2007 to 2012, and then there was a little gap because they dragged the renewal. And then the next one was 2016 to 2021, and that just ended, and this is the new phase. So we've been already meeting those 6 minimum control measures. So in the overview, I just put a quick summary of what's in each chapter, and then each chapter covers the entire permit that was attached to your agenda. I don't know if you had, we're pretty much doing the same things. There is not a lot of big changes. I do have to review the ordinance because we haven't, as a requirement, to have the ordinance reviewed every year and make changes to reflect some of the requirements. So I will come back at a later time. For this time is just to say that we presented this to you, that we will continue to follow the rules of the permit, and it's a living document, so it's constantly morphing. This is the reason why I got hired in Springville to start with, was to be the coordinator for the SWEP. So I thought I got away from that, but I ended up reviewing the whole thing and making some of the corrections. Any questions? You want me to elaborate more? It's a 26-page permit.
How many words? No, I'm just kidding. No, you don't have to answer that. You probably know that, so.
I don't, but.
Any questions, council?
No, reviewed it, very comfortable with it.
So basically, this is a review in action, so I assume a motion would be in order to,
I will do that, Mayor. Unless anybody else had anything else. I move to approve Resolution 2021-23-R, approving the 2021 Stormwater Management Program as presented.
have a motion by Van, second by Jake. Any further discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, item number 9 is the discussion item on the secondary water metering, so about face.
Not going far along.
You want to stay there? So this is again, just a discussion item. To give a little background on this, the state passed legislation 2 years ago that requires that all cities that have a secondary water system will be required to install meters on all connections by 2035. We as staff, and you've heard as council members, with this year's water shortage throughout the state, we've had legislators and the governor indicate that they'll be putting a priority on new legislation associated with secondary water and some of our water resources. We've heard several suggestions that the anticipation is this 2035 timeline will be shortened, so it will be moved up. So we will find that out in February during the legislative session, but the anticipation is that time will be reduced where cities are required to put in secondary meters on all connections. So with that in mind, just again, some more background. In April of 2020, the state required any new connections for new development to have a secondary meter installed. And so in addition to that, on our west side development, the Ivory Homes development, as part of that development agreement that was agreed to in 2016, I believe, could have been earlier than that. Do you recall by chance? Does that sound right? 15 or 16, all of their development was required to have secondary meters. And so essentially about a third of our residential connections that build out would have secondary meters just through that development alone. And so we were looking at ways to try to fund this requirement by the state. The state did come out last year with a grant opportunity for cities to apply for secondary metering funds for services that had less than 5,000 customers, which there was very limited number of cities that fit that. Juan and his staff, and then the city working with a consultant engineer, applied for the funds through the Utah Board of Water Resources. And Van mentioned we went to Price where they held a board meeting this last week, and we were awarded the grant for $1,205,000 that would go towards the installation of secondary meters in the city on existing connections. And then the Central Utah Water Conservancy District committed $400,000 of additional funds towards that project. With the expectation the city's required to have a match on that amount that was approved by the Board of Water Resources. And we've received federal funds through these stimulus funding that are earmarked, can only be used for water and sewer projects. And so we have just barely over that amount where we would match 50% of that. So the city would contribute $1.2 million towards this project for a total cost of about $2.8 million. With those funding sources, the installation of secondary meters would not require any change in fees or rates to our users of the system. And so we would be able to do that through 100% funding that has not originated from utility fees or rates. It's anticipated that the city would begin installing secondary meters on city properties during our 2022 spring-summer watering season, so we can kind of burden ourselves as we install some of those meters on our own properties, and then likely it wouldn't be installing anything on other properties until after the 2022 irrigation season, so fall or winter of 2022. And then we are anticipating it would probably be 2 to 3 years for full installation of all of those meters. We've seen some neighboring cities in Utah County, Saratoga Springs a few years ago, installed meters on all of their connections. Payson City has taken 2 years, and they've installed meters on all of their secondary connections. We've seen some examples further north in the Weber Basin water, what is it, the water district, Weber Basin Water District, where they installed secondary meters on connections in their district. So we're excited that we have some funding opportunities for this. This is from our feeling is that this is inevitable at some point. The state has already mandated this. It was just when it would occur. And so with the funding ability, that's a great thing that we don't have to look to our own residents to fund this if it were required by the state sooner than the 2035 date. Just a quick draft that we put together with the secondary water metering, just some facts. This is an example of what they may look like. It would just be in an irrigation box at the point of connection to the PI system for the customers. We've put together some outlines of when some of these dates have come up and some of the funding. And then just tried to answer some questions that we thought may be anticipated through that. Anything else you want to add at this point, Juan?
No, besides I think conservation through education, we need to be able to measure. If we cannot measure, we cannot improve it, or we can plan for the future. So I think conservation is one thing, but the other thing is what are we doing to make the system better, and are we going to make the system be able to provide the level of service that is required, so we don't run out of water, run low pressures, and things like that. So
let me make sure I understood you correctly. So we don't, with the funding that's available, we won't need assistance from the residents.
You've already got assistance from the residents.
Right.
They gave you all their damn water 20 years ago for nothing.
And that system is not gonna work.
With a promise that we'd never be metered. And you say we won't have to be paid for it, we won't have to pay for it, we've already paid for it. How much are those water shares worth now?
They're worth a lot. That system that you have up on the screen, pull it back up and I'll show you why it won't work.
Listen, this was never discussed with the public. It's interesting, Carolyn, that you came up with Meet the Candidates night, because I was here. And that night, the question was brought up, and every one of the candidates were here, including you, Van. You said the best way one of the better ways we can preserve water is to fix the ditches, line them. We lose a lot of water, secondary water that way. Somebody else said the residents are really good about preserving. You just proved that, Juan, by what happened this year. We had more water in the system at the end of the year than we did at the first of the year. But this is a decision to purchase, to go with a state or whatever. Forgive me for being so mad and upset. This decision was made by you without asking us, the city, the customer, the person that gave you the water.
Juan,
Can we get their names for the record?
Don't come meter my water.
Do we have his name?
Meter, right? Right. Huh? Okay, what's gonna stop the debris from going into the meter? You haven't got a filter on it.
these meters are non-clog. There is no crosshair.
Guess what? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I've been around a time or two.
Well, we're
And I guarantee you, this will not work. That meter will not work. It's gonna cost the city millions of dollars to change and put meters on every one of these secondaries.
Okay. Let's, we're open to more discussion, obviously. The insights that you shared, we'll look at those. Give us the opportunity to have that discussion, and anyway, the city right now is discussing a way that might financially be beneficial. What you're raising the issue is that you feel this is not a good direction to go. Is that correct?
I do not.
Because
I've been doing water services, water lines for 47 years, and I know about the water systems.
Okay. would you mind stating your name and address so we can get it on the record, so we've got?
Gordon Case and Company, and I've lived right here in Lindon for 40-something years.
Okay.
And you know what? I was told by Dave Thurgood that we would never have meters on the gray water if I would sign up. I would not sign up. I was the last one to sign up because I says, you're not taking my ditch away.
Okay.
And he says, I guarantee you they will never meter your water and you can use as much as you want.
Okay, thank you. So let it be noted, the comment, I mean, it's not a public hearing, but it's part of the record, so thank you. Go ahead.
Do we have who the other gentleman was that left?
Kim Bonnet.
Kim Bonnet, yeah.
And help Kim understand, this is discussion right now. No decisions have been made at all.
I know, but you know, the problem is, they know that just on the board, but did they put it out there so people could come and listen to what they're saying on the gray water system? And their sewer system sucks, and their storm drain sucks. And I know that for a fact. I can take you to 5 sumps that's never been cleaned out here in Lindon.
Well, we'd welcome that feedback and we'll pay attention to it, so. Thank you.
With this is we anticipate the state will send the city a contract and the city would have to accept or reject that. And interested to see how long we could hold on to that before signing and sending it back. But that's something we can ask.
Yeah, it's one more step in that direction, and I think based upon the comments tonight, I mean, I will reach out and have that conversation, and you know, I'm sure, Juan, you'll be a part of that as well, so.
We know this won't be an easy thing. This
Yeah.
is something that there were certainly comments made or promises made at some point in time 30 years ago, and the realities is what we're trying to face is to do this in a manner that has the least impact on our residents. And so we were excited that we had some funding here. We're doubling the money that we've received from the stimulus, more than doubling. And if this is a project that we move forward with, we'll have a lot of additional public comments, I'm sure.
Sure.
So.
Okay.
Mayor, is it important to make sure that it's said loud and clear that the reason why we're, besides the drought, the reason why this is being discussed is because of the state mandate? This is something.
Well, I think that was clear in their comments, that the state's kind of mandating that, but yes, please, I mean,
just think
that's wonderful.
It's important for citizens to understand that the reason this is being talked about so much in depth, and it's a discussion at this point, is because of our state legislature mandating these meters.
Right.
Well-
And I think discussing options, obviously what's going to be really important is once staff has collected the options and the information, doing public outreach, getting that feedback from the community before any decisions are made is going to be really important, so they can understand what we're looking at long-term. And also the metering, I think, will be important to just, express that this doesn't mean you're going to start paying. Metering is, at some point, we're just getting the infrastructure there, but it doesn't mean that there's going to be charges happening necessarily immediately.
That's a good comment, because once you meter, the next
But
step.
they know that it's the next step,
Eventually, it's
true.
going to happen.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
so-
one of the things that Weber Basin is doing, they installed the meters, and I think they've had them for about 5 years, and they are not charging the residents, but just through the education process, which is what we want, they have seen the reduction. And Weber Basin is in sad shape because where they get their water actually got to
Zero, yeah.
10%
Yeah, it
capacity,
was-
which at that point you cannot put it in the system.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do, is to measure and to keep going with the service and make sure, the reservoir is so deep, but if it's full of air, because there is no water, then we have no water to give our residents. So we're trying to hedge that.
Yeah, to the gentleman's point, though, if he feels that these meters in the system will get clogged and won't work, any historical records that we can come up with that we can present that, you know, not to refute that, but to just what is the real track record, so we can have that information would be helpful.
Certainly how long they last, what's the maintenance, and all of that type
So
of
we-
information would be still very, very important.
So we have all that data, and when we went out to get the rough estimate, we looked at 3 meters. And with all the problems that all had with different cities and districts, this particular meter, it's a non-clog. It's what you actually measure sewer water with. Is the same technology. And sewage, it has all sorts of solids, and this one is just a pass-through. So there is no impeller, there is no crosshairs, it's just an open port. And that has
So-
been in use for.
So if we can have examples of where it's been in use, and that would be helpful.
Correct.
I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong or right, I'm just saying, anticipating what the discussion is going to be like, we want to make sure that we've done our homework and that we've vetted it and we can present accurate and timely information. So,
One of the things that might be helpful to know is these matching funds, how long are they available or when do they have to be
I
deployed?
think the state's expectation is that we've accepted this. I mean, our presentation was we've applied for the money and we presented to their board. They awarded it to Lindon City. We haven't signed the contracts, but I would frankly be embarrassed if we went back to their board and said our council rejected it. I'm being very blunt, but.
yeah, I don't think the
this
question is
this
rejecting
a
it.
fantastic funding
Time-
opportunity.
We understand that, Adam.
Okay.
But I think part of it is, what is the window of opportunity here? Does it give us a little bit of time to have some public comment? And not that it's going to change our
Right.
decision, but at
Yeah,
least
we certainly
inquire.
have a long period to implement this. I mean, because we indicated to them that it would take several years. But what we were doing initially is purchasing the meters, and so that's the largest upfront cost is the purchase. And so that was anticipated in 2022 under this grant proposal. And so we would have to determine how long that is, and I don't know what that is, so.
So just ask or find
Yeah,
out.
we
We
can
want to
find
be
out.
respective of their goodness to allow us this opportunity, but we also want to manage the expectations and find a good way to move forward, so.
Mayor, can I ask for maybe some
Please.
clarification with some of my fellow council members? Is that my recollection was when we had a presentation here by other entities about the application process, that we could do this, we could explore it for some of us who are not comfortable going through it, but knowing that the opportunity to get the money, if we were so to do so, that we would then make the decision whether we would then go forward and could then accept this potential grant. Does anyone remember something along that line? There was hesitation, but
And
we
that
said-
is still the case. We haven't signed any
Right, but there
contracts.
was a deadline to apply for it, and that's,
So as long as we can get
Right.
over the heartburn of maybe feeling like there's egg on the face, I can continue that, but to know that we're feeling obligated to go forward, I'll maintain my position that this has been all along, that I'm not happy with having to put these meters on for a variety of reasons, so I'll stay there.
I'm with you too. I've been hesitant. I think I've gone on the record several times saying, I don't know that I'm there yet, which is why us going down these paths and then feeling embarrassed to say no is hard, because now I feel like I want to be on your guys' side and be with you with that, but I don't want,
I hope it's not being portrayed, you're saying our side. This is an opportunity to pay for something that we feel is gonna be required anyways. And so I hope it isn't perceived as staff against council will. This is what we're feeling is inevitable. If we pass on an opportunity to fund it, then we will be left coming up with the majority of that money on our own, which means raising rates, which I'm certain will go over worse. And so what I'm hopeful is if we contact the board and see when we have to sign the contracts, I don't know when they'll send those. If we can wait until after the legislative session and see what comes out of the session, that may provide us some firm guidance.
I would hope that we could do that. I think that would allow us some additional information and then help clarify the way forward. If indeed it is going to be a mandate, then that's part of the discussion as well. It's not out there some time period. And then, as a council, you can decide where you want to line up on that, so.
Because I feel like this is an awfully big nose of a camel trying to get in our tent. I mean, it's not just a little nose, it's a very large Jimmy Durante kind of nose, for those of us who remember him.
Just to bring another point, as a water manager, I need to know how big you want me to build the pipes and reservoirs, and how much more water I need to gather to keep offering a top service to our residents.
Sure.
If I don't have a way of seeing where the water is going, I really can't measure that, and
You're very valid, Juan, and we want to support you in every way we can, give you clear direction, good information, and look at long-term what's going to be in the best interest of the Lindon City residents. Regardless of what the state does, they'll do what they're going to do. We may have to be reactive. We may have the option to get a little bit more information. And Adam, if you can just, I mean, whoever needs
See
to
what we
reach
can
out,
find out.
see what you can find out. I'm not saying that's going to change, but I think it makes it a little bit more challenging if the time frame is less, because I think there are residents that are going to have to feel free that they can come and voice their concerns, and I welcome that discussion. It's not going to.
Like many of.
It's not going to be easy, but if we really feel it's in the best interest long-term for our city, then we need to be willing to step up and have that discussion and make sure that we're doing what we feel is the right thing, whatever way that plays out.
Yes, and certainly one of the things that we were reminded of, and I've mentioned, our delivery system has to be first to make sure that the water that we have is there, and we've talked about that many times. And that's part of that meeting Thursday to see where that's going. You know, when the state legislature says you have to do it, that's kind of a big deal.
It is a big deal.
One question I have is, with this funds, is that, are they saying then we have to do it citywide to use these funds, or could it just be, if we had just like our road plan, we have, a long-term outlook of which roads are going to be touched first and the reasons why, and you apply in a fashion that makes sense. If we were to proceed, it's not, so we could look at some users who turned in water differently than those that did not, or I don't know.
In the application was about 2,600 residential connections is what was in the application. And then that we would phase in the commercial and industrial connections as able over time. And so this does not cover every connection in the entire city. It was intended to cover the existing residential connections.
I agree.
Would we ever?
some schools and churches, and so I think it covers the entire.
Covers some of those.
Yeah, all the institutional meters as well.
Okay.
Of course, all the public, we're gonna start with our own park, so we can be better, good stewards of our own properties.
One last comment, just that let's make sure we do some public hearings. Let's make sure we give the public, because there are, that's two for hundreds that there are that feel that way. Let's let them feel heard, as you always do, Mayor, as has been your motto. Let's let them feel heard, and that they do have a seat at the table before this decision is just made. That it is a discussion. And
so as I recall, we brought this issue or this grant opportunity to you, and what we were asking for permission was to apply and see if we got it.
Absolutely.
Now that we got it, it's how to tell the story to our residents and why we're doing it. and the benefits and the possible.
It's twofold. That's one of them. The other is, as a council, we need to decide, do we move forward from this?
Exactly.
Those are the two questions we need to answer.
One of the things for sure to explore, and I think this is what you were saying, is how you use data if secondary water meters are in on how to control design and water to make sure the system's working properly. That's an important component in my mind, for sure. And then, if we go down this road, then you maybe look at, you put a time frame on there where no costs can occur.
Yeah, I mean.
But any,
Has to be
I know any
quantified.
legislative body can change.
Yeah, so we meter the water. So do we implement a fee charge based upon the water usage? That's one of the questions, because what you said, and I believe, once it's metered, you have an idea and people are more conservative or at least aware of their water usage. Ideally, it would be nice if we metered everything and we never had to charge.
Right.
That would be the ideal.
That could be a great.
And that could be an outcome,
Of course.
And until the state legislature changes that.
but that's out of our hands.
Exactly.
And we've mentioned before, our expectation is if there ever were a requirement, or if the city ever had to meter that, is that the culinary rates would go down to accommodate that. Because right now, our culinary rates are subsidizing the operations costs of our pressure irrigation system. And so the monthly fee that's collected does not support it. And so our expectation is that culinary rates would decrease if secondary rates went up.
So Juan, I just want to say to you, thank you.
Yes.
For all your hard work, and Adam and anyone else that's been involved with that. You've given us, I believe, a great option. We just need to find the best way forward,
Yes.
whatever
I agree
that
with
would
that.
be.
I agree.
We good?
Yes. We will talk to the state and we'll prepare something to.
Let us know. Get as much time as
For
you
sure.
can.
We will.
And again, Thursday meeting, in my mind, is pretty darn important to see where we're going, and I don't know what that time frame can be. But if we're able to get the water completely through the Provo River aqueduct to the Murdoch thing, and then just come down from the canal down to,
Zone 3 reservoir.
yeah, whatever that, where it's already piped. That's a huge deal in my mind. If that happens, you've got a lot more water to deal with in the first place, because you're not losing it.
Yeah, evaporation. Go ahead, make a comment.
I know this isn't a public hearing, but just maybe a thought or two. Sure. My name's Rob Cowles. I feel bad about the raw emotions expressed. I feel bad about that, but I think Kim and Gordon represent, or they're part of a group that own larger acreages. And I think those people are more concerned with this. First, for a couple of reasons. One is, they contributed to the city anywhere from $60,000 to $350,000 in water rights on their piece of property in Lindon. And then to have this legislative thing imposed upon us, which really I think we all can agree it's punitive. I mean, what other reason is there for putting a meter on a person's secondary water? It's punitive. They're going to be able to monitor how much water you use so they can control how much water you use. And I think a lot of us who have larger parcels have really made a concerted effort to conserve and try to be wise users of our resources. Just as you, Juan, said, our consumption during the worst drought we've had in years, our consumption went down. So we're trying to be good stewards. But the legislature is using a heavy fist to do it. And I think we all know that once there's meters on those secondary waters, our rates are not going to go down, they're going to go up. And so, maybe a recommendation would be for the city to look at some kind of a proposition where the rates would be guaranteed not to go up for 10 years or something. Because we, I think, as large landowners, think that once the water is metered, the rates are going to go up. It's going to be hard for us to even afford our large parcels. We're going to have to develop them. The larger open spaces
thank you for your comments. And, you know, the best governance is self-governance. And unfortunately, in today's world, that's why city councils exist, and state and federal, and we just wish we could get them all thinking the way we think somehow. But thank you for your comments, and, you know, I believe this council will strive to be sensitive to that, try to come up with a good way forward, whatever that is, whatever it is. I'm not predisposed to think one way's better than the other. I think it all has to be sensitive to our citizenry and what their expectations were, knowing that sometimes we may not be able to meet those expectations over a long period of time. But your suggestion, I think, is you know, we can be mindful of that, and maybe there is a way to move forward in a conservative manner and still keep our citizens feeling like we're thoughtful and we're careful and we're trying to make their best interest. So thank you. So Juan, do the miracle, you know, make everybody happy.
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, we have one more discussion on Geneva Resort Park property.
I think you may have skipped one.
So we were approached by the Vineyard City staff. Oh, are we?
Item 10.
You know what? We missed one item. Yep, sorry. Heath is up, actually. That's the last item.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
Yeah.
Heath. It's your turn. Yes.
Yeah, it's your turn. Sorry.
So Heath had submitted these two items as part of his discussion at the beginning. I felt like they were pretty heavy items that needed to be discussed independently. And so we're looking for very direct feedback on a couple of these. A yes or a no on these would be very helpful. So go ahead, Heath.
Excuse me, when you say yes or no, what do you mean by that? Yes, we want to do it, or yes, we want to explore it more?
Yes, we would
Yes.
like to do it, or no way, we would never do this.
Or maybe
If you
there's
want
an
to
in
explore
between.
it more, that's certainly an option, but
Yeah.
it seems like we've explored a couple of these for a while, and so Heath, go ahead. Maybe, we need more firm direction, because right now we don't know where to go with these. How's that?
I just lost my council report. Let me just bring it up. Sorry. It's like,
Well, while he's pulling that up, so in the Parks Master Plan, we've highlighted this on potential improvements. It was included in the adopted master plan from 2020 that the equestrian arena upgrades and expansion, there was a paragraph included that there was some interest from some residents about expanding or enlarging or providing an enclosed arena at the riding arena, and the city, it says, has indicated support for creating a task force to review the possibilities and options. Heath then went forward and put together a group of people that met a few times, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks. Adam, I had 66 emails during the time that the equestrian park, our master plan was being talked about, and I selected 20 of those, and then one or two people who really didn't have a vested interest in horses, so to speak, and I invited them to come. Well, it was during COVID, so we met over Zoom. We had 2 meetings, and I included in this just kind of a summary of what we talked about. When you're asked, would you like, what would you like? And you would probably say, I'd like a covered arena, and I'd like it free. Those are probably the 2 questions you would ask. But you can just see here on the history of it, the people who were involved. Not everybody came to each meeting, but I had we had really good discussion for different ideas, and it basically came down to 3 ideas that the people were looking for. And I've been here before, and I've mentioned this before, but truthfully, like Adam said, I'm kind of in limbo about, should we go on with the committee? Should we work some other business plans, or is it just pie in the sky kind of feelings? But first was funding and building a new indoor horse arena. The second idea was funding and building a covered arena, just a roof, a barn, it was called. Most of the people on our committee would agree that probably their number one priority was winter riding, and a roof could accommodate that as well as an arena. So that's kind of where a lot of people kind of fell in there. And then the third, of course, was funding and improving our current arena. I may have provided you with just a lot more information than you really need to know, but option one, funding and building of the new arena. A covered arena would be in the center of the park or another piece of property. And it would take basically both baseball fields, although it wouldn't go over. You can see the picture. I'm not as good as Mike and those GIS guys, but that's pretty close to scale on concept one of a 300 by 150 barn. If it was a covered arena, it would be bigger than that, probably taking the entire. But that's the same size of the barn that I built at the Equestrian Park in South Jordan City. So that's actually one that I'm familiar with. And it's just about 325 by 170 in width, so you could have the interior arena rideable distance. Concept 1A, you can see in that on the next slide that it was just, new arena was concept 1A, just the covered roof was the concept B. And then the plan along with those lines, we would need to do something with parking. Parking would be going into the parking lot. I'm feeling a lot of pressure to rush. Are we okay? I mean, after all that adrenaline, all that adrenaline's running, I want to bang, bang, bang. Let me slow down. Let me slow down just a little bit. I don't think Adam knows where I'm going with pictures. So of those three, regardless, if we move to the center of the park, we will need parking. And the thought was to put a parking lot, dirt/paved, in the current arena area, okay? We discussed, Ron Clegg, the engineer, was on the committee with us, and he discussed maybe the absolute need of having a pull-through over to the other side of the park. We looked at different areas. We've got some utility issues that are going to be a real problem in the center of the park, but certainly that would be needed. And Ron mentioned also a good practice to look at traffic studies and just see if we were to have a covered, or even a covered arena, people will come and use it, especially if we don't charge. And none of the horse people were in favor of charging. It needed to remain free, unless it was like a full-on business plan. Am I speaking that right? If it was a business plan for an indoor arena where there were more events, then they were willing to give a little bit more money, a couple of bucks a ride or a yearly pass or something, but they wanted it certainly accessible for those folks with the horses. So, next page, Adam, on option one, I have done some checking. I just called a guy I know that built some barns for me in the past. He has a rough estimate. This is last year's numbers of $35 a square foot to just build a building. That's a 300 foot by 175, 52,500 square foot riding arena, undercover, no walls, no heating systems, no air conditioning, nothing like that. You're looking at, according to that number, about 1.8 million to get that done. The surfacing is something we need to always consider. You can see there how it's $16,000 to resurface or put in a new surface. And then the next slide I put in there is our utilities plan. And if you didn't get a chance to look at it, you can see in the center of the park, we have three major utilities that are in the way of just doing something right there or right on them. The green line, which is the sanitary sewer, and the blue line, which is the culinary water, are tucked up under those trees against the hillside. But that stormwater pipe, and it's a 24-inch pipe, goes right through the middle. So utilities are a concern as well to do those, although the stormwater still goes through our current arena, so maybe it's deep enough. I suspect it's probably deep enough. just to show you what it would take to update any of these three plans, if we were to put new panels in, to have that size of an arena, we're still looking at some pretty good dollars, although I found a company in Nephi that is building panels that are people are pretty high about, and it's about $9,700 to buy new arena panels. These are unpainted and unpowder coated. We're looking at $20,000 really to do new arena panels.
Is that exterior fence type thing, if you will? Is that what you would refer to the panels
yeah,
as?
all the way around. And that would be a roping chute, a return chute, and bucking chutes like are down there in our current arena, those two bucking chutes, roping chutes. Excavation costs, you can see those, $70,000, fence posts. I guess my point is it's a lot more than 1.8 million to even consider a big building. And Carolyn and I have talked very frankly about it. If we had a business plan and we at one time we were courting a possible big time donor that wanted time in that, who had some big pockets, and we talked with him for a few minutes in my office, that might be a little bit more achievable if we had a full-on business plan and went something else. Personally, I think it's the wrong piece of property to do this in, personally. Although this could be a multi-use facility, and I'm speaking about Lindon Days and some other concert rental venue, you know, under the roof you can do a lot of things that we might be able to rent it out more, but those are just the straight costs. Option 2, without a building, if we just move the arena over there without a building, it's the same cost above as just without the 1.8 million for the building itself. Same challenges exist, and I just took my current arena, the last outdoor arena I built at the equestrian park, and just interpose it hopefully pretty close to scale in the center of a park, what that would look like. And then option 3, which to be honest with you, I pressed pretty hard for, was to fix up our old arena and give it some new life and usability. One of the problems we have in our current arena is it's too small to do events like a roping or barrels or a jackpot. And they are revenue events. We can take revenue in on these events, but they need to be 300 feet long and probably closer to 150 or 125 feet wide. So in that picture I put in there, the next one down, Adam, I put the, a possibility of going to the hill crest and having it 120 all the way, and maybe even going a little bit further into the parking lot to get 300 feet. But that takes away some of our parking, unless one of my staff members, I think it was Wade, said, unless we wanted to truthfully just give up that one smaller baseball field to accommodate parking and some other things in that area. So of those different choices, the committee last time we met, and it was clear back in December of last year, 2020, that we met. I've kind of kicked this around. I've heard from Marilyn Simster and a few others about maybe putting out an official survey to see what the citizens would like to support. But truthfully, with the cost and knowing the costs of this, and then with what we had discussed about the possibilities, the direction I need to know is are you interested in A, moving the arena, and B, funding something on a grand scale? If I come back to you with a business plan and show, I don't think it'll ever make money. We pretty much know that. Although former council member Bayless snapped back at me when I mentioned that. She said, not everything has to make money, Heath. We put the pool in for the same reason and some other things, so there's some varying opinions. But seriously, this is big money, even to move it to the center of the park. It's a big money thing. So I would take your feelings and comments or questions at this time.
The other thing that I think is important to note is there are some good-sized grants that could be sought after, and we have someone that would be willing
Yeah,
to
and
write those grants.
Now,
Yeah.
impact fees could be eligible to a point in that arena because it's in our master plan. We found out I almost said UDAM, it's not, it's the GO-ED grant. The governor's grant will not fund arenas. We found that out just recently, but there are a few other grant opportunities.
There's the outdoor grant the state has. It would
Yeah.
qualify potentially.
And so we could probably come up with 2 or 3 solid grant opportunities to get it built. So I put $20,000 in this current year's budget to put new soil and have that floor leveled and put new soil in. I've talked with Phil and Zach, our inspector, about opportunities of some of these dig outs along these sandy soils and getting some free soil. So we'll wait a little bit longer to see if we get an opportunity where the excavator says, take it, you want it, take it. And Phil's done that, and in his personal arena, it worked out really nice for him, so. Is that clear as mud? Do you want me to, shall we disband the committee? They know what they want. They'll take whatever they can get, but they know what they want, and they want to be able to ride in the winter. They want a covered arena at least, and to be frank, they want it for free. They don't want to pay for usership.
They also want it to be built in a way that it could be multi-purpose. Right now, it has very limited use, like you were mentioning, and I think one of the things Heath has brought up is it could not only be multi-purpose for many sporting events in that, for those enthusiasts, that there could be sporting events that were fee generating, but it could be multi-purpose for things that are bridal shows, concerts, the car show. Because you can add a flooring, Talk about the flooring that you had at the other facility.
We would level and roll the floor, and we could roll out the floor and make it a hard surface for the county fair in 2 days. That's a possibility. The floor was pretty expensive. We changed it while I was there, and I cannot give you an accurate amount, but that floor is the same, 300 feet by 150 wide. Because it was covered and indoor in Salt Lake County, we did have a bridal show. The snowmobile show loved us. They were in the middle of the winter, and they could put their stuff not out in the winter. Dirt bikes, we had a company come, and they would mold dirt bike tracks, and then they would do a Saturday bike run and stuff. They all did that themselves, and those were all revenue-generating opportunities. I've not vetted any of that to see what's around and what might have interest.
Heath, there's no option 4 to just cover our existing arena.
I looked at that, and I talked to Mr. Mills from S&S Barnes about that, and he looked at it, and he could not come up with a good shape that would look good and not just be squoze in that small little area. But that only accomplishes just open ride. I mean, we're still not being able to do events unless we enlarge it. And the lights will have to, if we build a new one, we'd have to light it anyway, but the lights down there, if we covered them, they would have to be a new light setup for lights and sound. So I guess my answer is yes, there is a possibility, but.
Not like an option 3 where you do go bigger and then cover it?
Yeah, that is certainly a possibility. Mr. Mills kind of thought, well, should we 2-tier it or 1-tier it? You're gonna have snow drop on the road on the one side. Well, should it just be a slanted barn shape with snow load going one way or the other? But I didn't spend too much time in that.
One of the things they talked about, the current little access road is pretty narrow to bring the trailers in, and all the parking is behind, and that parking lot's in poor condition. And so I think that's a question the council had during budget session was if we're going to invest in repairing that, would it make more sense to just keep that all in the front and then set the arena back where it has more space to be the proper dimensions that we're talking about?
I think we would be short on serious parking if we enlarge the arena, especially if we go a little bit longer. But that could bring some revenue generating groups, jackpots, barrel racing, and some roping and some even some goat tying and some of those other events, these clubs are around looking for a place to use. But it all comes down to how much care and maintenance we want to put into it too. You build to maintain.
What I also see is, besides parking is my number one issue with anything we put in there, would be the additional need for staff. We have a pool that has now, how much staff is being provided because of the pool, and something like this, you talk about flooring, trying to swap out for different type of venues and events. This would be several employees, bare minimum, just to maintain an arena like this, in my opinion. What did you deal with in your?
Yeah, if you lift the standard of the arena, you're gonna have to lift the maintenance. We'll build to maintain. That's all there is to it, because, you know, these riders that go down to the American Fork, when they all say the same thing, they don't wanna go down there. Why? It's not maintained. And so if we were to do something, including making this better, you know, we try to work that arena twice a week. That seems to be the magic number for getting in there and working the dirt. But you know, it would have to be more of a maintenance group to help care for it if we do something new and bigger. That needs to be considered.
There's different stages it could go to. I know there's kind of like the big picture, but like you're presenting, right now, I think the consensus is that it's not able to be fully utilized because the dimensions don't quite meet the different uses that it would be intended for. It's in poor condition, so what do we do where's the smartest way to invest the maintenance?
It's probably smart to get ahead of this anyway, because there are thousands and thousands of dollars being traded down there in private lessons by people who know it's just an open arena and have students. I can think of 4 separate teachers that all day long have students bring their horses or use their horses and teach private lessons. And I don't feel too great about that. You know, somebody making a living off of a government subsidized facility. So maybe it needs a little bit more care and maintenance anyway, or at least watching after it. So I don't know, the committee you know, they were understanding, but they wanted me to contact the people down at the South Point in Las Vegas. One of our residents here has a brother-in-law that works there, and how do they make that casino work? And we could bring in national, worldwide events, and of course, Ron Clegg and I are looking at them like, where are you gonna park these people, and where are you gonna drive them, and all this stuff, so it's.
That's the part that starts feeling like a square peg in a round hole. It's a wonderful thing. I love horses. I love all the atmosphere and the culture, but I'd have to wonder if this is the right location beyond what our country little arena has to offer. So that's where my rub is with that.
So I have not reported back to the committee because I've never brought it to you. I wanted to vet some things out. But if I get the committee together, they'll take whatever I say the council is willing to do. But if I'll tell you this, just from my perspective, if I had all the money and time in the world, I think I would relocate it. On the second, if I couldn't, I think I would move it into the park a little bit with parking and flip-flop them, maybe, parking on one end. But regardless, there's just not enough room unless we want to have just a country riding arena, and truthfully, that's okay too.
Where would you relocate it with all your money?
Well, I was hoping that we could put it up there on the Hollow Park property, but
The new Hollow Park that
what we
looking to
didn't,
purchase?
what we were able to purchase, I was thinking up there on that hill might be nice, but I haven't looked at any good pieces of property. I mean, maybe it works better at Geneva Resort, which is the next discussion.
Problem with that is access, and that's what's so lovely about this is the
So I think,
ability to that
personally, I
location.
think that if you were interested in continuing, improving the current arena, I think the first thing I would do is try to widen it and cut into that hill and then get a new surface and then maybe add things to it as things show up and need. I would love to have a covered arena, and it would be busy. You know, maybe the horsemanship is dying in Utah, but not in Utah County so much. There'd be a lot of people who would truck in. I just have that feeling and that experience, but maybe, are we gonna subsidize for those folks to come in and ride for free? Because that's what our residents want.
Somewhat.
The committee. So we'll say the
We
committee.
have parks that everyone uses for free with multi-million-dollar pavilions and playgrounds and equipment, so it's part of the holistic picture I think we need to look at.
So,
Yeah.
so I guess, again, the direction I'm looking for is, should we vet this further? Would you ever let me move the arena to the center of the park? Is the overall plan
You want to fill the room with people like we just had here tonight to
I'm-
get rid
I'm
of all
just-
baseball parks?
I'm just saying, it's not used.
I know. Well, I've had this discussion too. I've dreamed about a lot of things. It'd be beautiful, better use of that park.
If we wanna use it, all we gotta do is improve it, put fences on it and scoreboards and all these things, and then we'll rent them out to other cities and teams and clubs. But
You
that's,
don't ever see it coming back to Lindon? Just a dying sport.
our young kids are full. We do great with the T-ball and coach pitch. And then,
Soccer.
and then they go to the high school or the accelerated. They go to the high school programs or the accelerated programs. That's my personal opinion.
Fair enough. Well, let's move forward with the matter at hand. Randy, where are you at?
If we had all the money we needed, I'd say scoot it down, do some moderate plus improvements on it. I'm not on to the part of enclosing it just because of what it's gonna take monetarily to do that. I personally can't invest that money into that, but this needs to be preserved. And needs to be updated, to what cost and scope. If I had to come push to shove, make a decision on this, I would say lose the small ball field, push the parking to the road, and put it more to the interior. I'd take as little of the ball field as possible so that it would give a great buffer to the bigger ball field, maybe enhance that with some more, or something on the other side, but, and just zhuzh the whole park. If we're going to put it here, it can't just be this one amenity, so, but that's big dollars, so, and where we come up with that money is the big key.
Of course, I'm not looking, and I think I was pretty clear with the committee, I'm not looking to, go in there and make these huge changes. Time and availability of funds is, of course, a consideration over the years, or a phased approach to it.
I mean, if we got some big donor that wanted to come in and make it be named that amphitheater of some kind after him, that would be wonderful. We could do more, but I don't know where we're gonna get the money, so.
Yeah, I probably struggle with number two. I probably struggle with number one and number two. The idea that we're gonna turn this into a business, just so that I kind of struggle with that. I like the idea of making some improvements to this arena that we have to make it nicer. And at some point, we'd have to determine maybe a dollar value, but that would be my first choice, is the option 3 of making improvements over time.
I find myself in that same camp. I love this little arena. I think it fits our motto. I think it fits what we are. I'm sensitive to those members of the committee, plus many more, who are needing a bigger facility. Square, I liked what Randy said about the square hole and the round peg, or I really think very much this area, it's a little bit difficult. So I'm not, I'm not at a point where I'm comfortable with option 1 or 2 quite yet. And I think an option 3 looks great. I'd love to see if we can make some improvements to make this more, widen it. I think that's where I'm at.
I think I agree with a lot of things that have been said. Whatever we do, obviously we don't have all the money that you would imagine to do all these great ideas. We have to keep it within reality of what's possible. If there were opportunities in the future for grants or donors who came along, we should decide to do whatever investment is made, we should do it in the spot that best maximizes those potential future opportunities. We can't promise that we'll ever cover it for sure, but if there was an option to do that, we should have it, the foundation laid where it could be possible. So having been someone that's been there to a lot of events, the getting the parking along that skinny little driveway, it is a little bit awkward. So I think what Randy said, I agree with, maybe looking at just scooting it in so the parking can be along the street, might be, and then getting the dimension versus cutting into the hill and excavating there, maybe looking at getting it scooted over. And then just putting in, the dirt that's needed and the railing or the basic things to keep the amenity flourishing and the right dimensions so that the events that it was intended for can happen. And if things were expanded down the road, it would be down the road, potentially.
I will vet and look at the covering that current arena location a little bit closer, because that would really appease 90% of those folks if it was a little bigger, and it was rideable in the winter. Then they win both times. So I'll look at that. Maybe I'll come back with just a master plan of what I think needs to go and maybe steps and stages to happen down there, with the recommendations I got from the committee. And I think I vetted the committee's feelings pretty good. And I think, I don't, unless you see a need to go back to them, I think I'll just report to them and just kind of work with the master plan. Anybody have any feelings about the current committee?
I think they know what they want. That's been made pretty clear. If I were to make a recommendation, I would probably suggest that whatever options we eventually land on, that we broaden the public comment to just include more, just the general public within the citizenry. Because I don't want, if we decide to move forward or whatever, which is just fine, I think people are going to start saying, well, how about a library? How about this? And, those of all...
Rec center.
Rec center, there are other options out there. I'm not saying we need to explore those. I just think we need to be prepared to have that conversation. So that's...
Agreed.
So, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And the way I think we need to look at this is we've updated many parks with new playgrounds and new pavilions, and this is an amenity that already exists. We're not creating a new one. It's an amenity that was, I believe, donated, and so we have, a stewardship to take care of it, and that's part of the flavor of Lindon is people enjoy an abundance of many recreational opportunities within our community, and so this is just hopefully having wise stewardship over maintaining that within the community. So.
Good, Adam. Was there anything else that you want to...
I'm a little bit unclear. Heath, you said you're going to explore a covered arena further. I did not hear anybody say that.
Oh,
Did I miss it?
I just asked if that's even an option on that existing space, if we widened it, but.
We can look into it further. Part of why we're bringing this up is we don't know where to go with the committee because the committee wants a covered building that I'm hearing from most of you that that's not likely. And I've heard from Mike that that's not likely in his opinion. And so I'm looking for more firm direction of don't waste your time with the committee anymore, or yes, please explore this more with the committee. That's what I would hope
I put
for.
out there that this last, was it February, I was in Scottsdale for the National Arabian something or other, anyway. My daughter-in-law wouldn't like it, I said, or something or other. She performed beautifully at it, and so did my grandchildren. But they had a wonderful indoor arena that was full size and everything, but they had lovely smaller arenas that had some sort of a neoprene type structure on the outside, and it was heavy duty, perhaps looking at something more like that of an exterior, a framework that then you put one of these heavy coverings over the top.
The concept 1B, and I'll flash this to you, that is exactly what that is.
That's just an
Is it
email.
covered? Well, that's my email.
Oh.
Fingers in the way. That is exactly what that barn is there. You drop the sides, you can see the
Okay.
curtains, the neoprene curtains, it
Okay.
drops the side. That's the $1.8 million building.
Okay.
And I would like to probably clarify, I don't think the committee is saying it has to be a covered thing or else. That's not at all. It's the current arena is in poor condition, has a variety of reasons, issues, the dirt, you know, the railing, the configuration, where it sits. So there's, like Heath said, any improvement will be appreciated. And so if we're going to invest, let's decide engineering-wise where and what we're willing to spend, and then where we can, you know, potentially phase things if there were future opportunities to add to it. So I think that's where I'm hearing the committee.
You know, I'll speak boldly for clear direction. I think I'm not comfortable with 1 and 2. I'm just not. I think that if we had a donor come in, financially, as well as, I don't love it taking over that park, because I think that park is so special and unique. I would look to a hollow park, a different area, and it would need to be financed by outside sources. And so I think you could report that to a committee. Hey, right now the financing, it's just not there. It's not something we were willing to do. However, we do love our little arena, and we are willing to make some improvements there to make it a better place for you guys to ride. That's where I think probably most everyone's at.
I hope I said that clearly too.
And so I agree with you. I don't know that you have to disband the committee. I think you can report back. That's where the council's at right now. Go out and find us a donor. You know what I mean? If you're not comfortable with, hey, we're going to spend some serious money on the existing facilities.
So that's really what I wanted to do, is present you what the committee was thinking and see if that was even ever a possibility. That's why I researched costs, but I don't want to waste a lot of time on this for pie in the sky kind of a deal. I mean, I don't have time to spend a lot of time on this either, so I believe it needs to be improved personally, or moved, but improved for sure. And I can bring you that a piece at a time, and you can choose to fund it or not fund it.
Some of the grants are matching funds opportunities.
All grants are matching.
Yeah.
It's extremely rare to have one
And we
that's
do
not.
have park tax, we have impact fees that potentially be eligible, so those are things I think looked at as well.
I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off. Are you
No.
through? What I would think I'm hearing is look at the existing area and what are elements that could be implemented that would improve the overall experience both for the riders and for the spectators, and break that up into pieces that we could look at.
In order, a critical path,
Yeah.
this, and that.
I got that too.
You know, and if you're, you know, I think that's a way forward, at least in trying to meet the needs of the group, the committee, as well as being, I guess, financially prudent. And I think that's an easier lift, and I think it's a progression of getting something more than what we have now.
That's good. I agree with Carolyn 100%. They'll be happy with whatever we do, but we are vetting this what they were looking for in their efforts. So I think I know where I need to be. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but I'll set a priorities list and we'll start bringing it to you, and I'll report that to the committee.
So question is the council, Randy mentioned she was open to the parking lot being adjacent to the road versus in the back. Other council members, that concept, and Van and Jake?
If we keep the ball fields, but just sliding it down to the edge of the ball field?
Well,
Mention-
I got
go
to
ahead.
take that whole ball field or most of it to improve the parking if I'm going to expand the arena. And we've got that brick bathroom that's in a way. I can't go further than 125, but I could get 20 more feet. But that limits the little bit of parking we have. And on the street, walking those horses down and even up above, the park, if we do that, the parking needs to go into that ball field a little bit, is my opinion.
And that one small ball field, according, you said, what's the use that's happening on that right
Mom
now?
and pop pitch on it, and a lot of teams use it because it's for free.
The two, but you're talking about maybe taking up part of one, not both, not
Well, it
eliminating
would
both.
eliminate one for sure if we took any of it. It's just too tight over there. You know, for example, and I hate to kick this dog any harder, but the arena that we went and toured, that I went with Ron Clegg and toured over Bridle Up Hope. Anyway, the one over there that the Cubbies own, that they have these little girls, that's just 100 by a 75-foot riding arena, small riding arena. We could put the building in and all the surfacing and everything in that building, completely enclosed, and use it for perhaps weddings. That's what they do over there, for probably less than $200,000. But the committee didn't want that. They wanted it bigger and more usable for events, just not plunking around riding in it. So that was pretty clear. So I think I understand where we're at now. I'm not gonna waste a lot of time on big things like that. We'll just improve it in order of necessary, and budget willing, we'll go forward. Is that what
Thank you for your
Yes.
work.
And I do not want us to be a wedding reception center. I don't want public entities to compete with private entities. So absolutely not.
You mean more than we do? Yeah. More
I
than we do.
understand.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to do more.
Well, that doesn't have to be weddings either, but you know, it's the same as a community center, exactly the same, in event location. Okay, that's great.
Keep it for that
So
purpose.
are you up for the next one as well?
I'll stay here.
The Geneva Park,
Oh, we've got
oh,
one
we got
more.
one more, am I miss? Oh, yeah, that's right, one more, that's
Trees.
right. It's coupled in that, yes.
We put those first trees down, and Randy and I were talking about maybe doing something artistic on those stumps. And so I had John Tucker leave the stumps up. If we want to keep this, to remove the stumps is, 20 minutes in his truck. It's not a big deal where we're at
What's
now.
the cost to just remove them?
$150 total for the three, and then John gets the wood. I could put them on the ground in 20 minutes with my arborist staff.
That's not to remove the stump.
No, the stump,
Yeah.
the grind the stump, that's just the log.
Yep.
The stump is probably another 100 to grind. So we just looked down this road a little bit, and I really wanted to have the council give me an opinion about.
How long do those last?
He says they will split. The ones in Murray Park have been there for 30 years, but they're
Wow.
big. I mean, the bigger the better. The one split though, the one Eagle split at Murray Park, he wouldn't give me a timeline, but they will split, and you can bolt them when they're precarious, but they're not forever. They're probably a 20 or 30 year. If I could get 20 out of it, I'd be really happy, probably.
The thought is to do a lot of agrarian into them, some sort of a story with corn, and, I mean, there's a lot of artistic things that we could do with this, and maybe a gateway to a farmer's market there, an attraction there for a farmer's market there in the parking lot.
I love that it's across from the school. You've got these curious kids. I like that. I don't know that I mean, I could be talked into doing all three. I'd love to do at least one. And I could be talked in by Randy into doing three.
I
if we're
almost
passionate
wonder,
about
and
it.
I haven't talked to Heath, I've just kind of been thinking about this since some conversations today, Heath has had some ideas of maybe doing them as part of maybe Lindon Days, watching that happen. We can do it sooner, of course, but we could do them and then take and cut the other ones down and group them to 3 in 1, and then plant trees in the others. So I think we've got some opportunities, but it's a unique, it's an opportunity to do something unique and artistic for our city. And I don't know, I think.
Do something to represent the 100 year.
Yes, exactly, to go along with the centennial and just to bring something unique. And do not think totem pole south, the northwest.
I only contacted one carver, the one that's in Provo, that's really popular. And he just said $2,500 on the small ones and $3,000 for the big ones. I'd have them done in 3 weekends, he said, just coming in, doing it on his side. I think that is a lot of money. I haven't got competitive with pricing. who knows, there may be a guy in St. George that does it, would love to come up and stay, I don't know. But the design, he said, he's kind of a shape guy, he kind of lets the tree tell him what to do. But if we told him, he said all three of these that I included in that are doable. He said he can do all three of those. One of them was his, actually, the eagle is his. So.
Do we have any local residents that could donate or do something like this?
I
Because you know, at
haven't
some point, these are
heard that.
getting pulled out no matter what happens. They just
They'll
won't
be
last
down.
forever.
You know, you gotta maintain them too, you gotta put linseed oil on them and stain them occasionally. But I have not put out to the neighbors, and do we not want a professional? I don't know, I'd like to see the work of whoever decides they're gonna do it.
Absolutely, but just wondering if that's, maybe we have somebody in town too.
We just wanted to have your thoughts and seeing.
I don't have money for this. I mean, this is a new expense. 1, 2, or 3, we'd have to do something about that in the budget when it's opened up.
Park tax having the best year it's ever had. I'm fine
the
with
arts
1,
portion.
could be twisted arm into 3. What about you two?
So the timing of this, I mean, the trees, they're not going anywhere. I mean,
They're safe, they look stupid, but some of the things I do look stupid. Yeah, he can do them whenever. He's not pressed for time, and he'll work in the winter. Or he'll wait till spring, it doesn't matter. Just, when people are driving up the Temple Road, you know, are they gonna go, what in the world is that? Or are they gonna go, hey, this city is.
Yeah, I don't want a what in the world is
That's
that.
right.
If we did it, it would
And
be
we don't
something
want
cool.
that.
Are any of those 4 on that sheet, what in the world is that? Because I didn't think they were, so you better help me decide.
If I could, you know, kind of conjure up some things, there are some other examples that I've seen where they take the pole and tell a story around it with, maybe it's an owl like it shows here, but then also have corn, and you could have a pheasant, and there's whole things that you can tell the story about. And even if it's just one beautiful one, and then we put trees on the other in replacements, I just think that it's an opportunity to have something for, I don't know, where in the world in Lindon is this, you know?
Something that tells the story of that building and the people that consecrated.
Well, and
there
just a lot of
build it.
things from Lindon's history could be told in this.
Something patriotic would be,
There's a lot of things
Great.
we can tell a story in this.
but finding out, like you said, are there other artists that would,
If
Not
you
be
want
as
to go
much.
forward, if you don't think it's stupid, I'll vent it out and see what we're gonna have to fund it. And at least 3,000 per tree, you're really looking at. Then I can find out all that information about other carvers, and like I say, maybe there's a guy coming into the state fair, you know, that guy that carves bears at the state fair, maybe he'll come down and hit them for us.
I know,
As a demonstration, I don't know.
Belva Parr was telling me that there's somebody who does beautiful chainsaw art at the county fair, at the state fair, and they bring him in from out of state.
It's the guy.
Oh,
It's
is
the
it that
bear
guy?
I think,
Okay.
yeah, he comes every year.
so just a thought, and it's probably based upon some comments that were made tonight. I would feel so much better, you know, I'm not opposed to the idea, but to have it funded outside of the city's coffers. So if we have people coming in and saying, you're spending what on that? And others will say, wonderful, but the point is, I would like to avoid that if we can, and there may be sources out there that we can, outside of that, could fund it and do it in a way that it's an arm length removed from us making that decision as far as funding it. Just a thought, because
I like that thought, and perhaps pony that up with some of the park tax, because I do think, I think the art part of what we do in parks ourselves, I mean, we give grants for the art part. Perhaps this is as a city, our contribution towards the art in park. And so maybe a combination of some sort of additional source with that.
There are some unknowns, but I will not let him put a mythical creature, as Adam said.
No.
I love that guy. Adam said, you're not,
First thing that came to my mind.
yeah, seriously, yeah, I'm not gonna have him put Gandalf, carve that in there or something like that, but.
A Merlin,
Can these be cut off and moved to a park?
yes.
Yep.
I just, me personally, in the parking lot, just seems like an odd location to have
Seems just a little bit out of
a
place.
statue.
But
It's two major intersecting roads for us, and that's the only reason I thought about it. But they can be cut and carved off-site and dropped and put on poles and displayed somewhere else, maybe by the Pioneer Home.
Do you plan to replace the trees with living
Well,
trees?
that depends. You know, if they're gone, of course. If they're not, we're not gonna replace them in those little park strips.
You're not going to put trees in the park strips?
Not if those trees are there.
No, no, no. I mean, if we remove them, if we move them.
Yeah, I am if they're removed.
Yes. And I don't want to keep it from being beautified. I just would like to be able to do something that's fun and innovative. But, you know, that's just, if we don't talk about it and just cut them down, we couldn't have had the conversation of trying to do something quirky and fun and notable for our city. So I'm happy either way. Just that we
Certainly
have it-
fun. I would be for new living trees growing in those spots.
Definitely on that corner, for sure. I don't see this as all three of them really passing muster, but in those spots, long-term, doing them, making some sort of event, moving them off to a nice centennial celebration location of some kind.
maybe have a contest where we get all these carvers come and they compete and we offer, I don't know, some kind of an award for their artwork. They do it
Tell the Lindon
at their
story.
cost, but we, you know, have some kind of stipend or something that we give to them. I'm just thinking outside the box here. And eventually we move them
I guess,
to some location.
I guess the real question is do you want them there? Because if not, I'll cut the logs off and we'll keep the logs.
And do something with them.
I mean, if you want one there or none there, do you think it's too corny or goofy? Because I can move them in an hour and keep them or sell them, or we can chop them up and say free firewood and they're gone. I thought we started talking about this because it is gonna be the Temple Road and it is gonna be, and maybe we can encourage people to start not getting rid of their trees, but maybe doing some nice carvings in their own properties. I don't know.
How about a
It's
nice,
not West Yellowstone, I know that.
how about a nice pole carving at the corner of Center Street and 400 East? You know, that's what, a 60-foot tree there? That's,
Oh, yeah.
I'm teasing.
So,
I'm gonna ask around a little bit more. I want to get a broader sense of people's comfort level in the sense that, does that represent Lindon or is it a unique approach? And it is a unique approach, but it may be something that's more than welcomed. I just haven't had that conversation with people. And once again, you don't have to wait for me, but I would like to
Well,
at least have a little more discussion.
do we have some place to store them if we cut them and store them?
oh, I can lay them on the ground somewhere, on a pallet somewhere. I'm sure we can find some room down in Juan's yard.
Is that some place
Back
that
away from
perhaps we
everything.
could think about using them?
He's nice, unlike Brad.
Would the council think about us potentially using them for a future? Or would it just be a waste of time, effort, and space?
Well, Juan has plenty of room down there, so I think we
Again,
have room if we need it.
Again, the trees are standing. If you don't mind answering a few questions about why there's 3 stumps there, you know, it can be in a while. I mean, it can be whenever or never, but I don't want to put anything up without the council knowing and spending that money I don't have without the council approval. So,
Oh, I say cut them down then.
cut them down? Is that what you think?
It's just whether the council wants to store them for a potential, since they're kind of historic-ish trees,
I can do that.
if they're okay with that, putting them in a different location.
I'm okay with that.
I would vote take them down, plant new trees there.
Yes. Okay. But would you be willing to store those logs to potentially do something with them later at a Lindon Days?
I wouldn't mind if that happened. if we're gonna do some like of an art piece, I don't know if coming out of trees is, I don't know, I'd have to be impressed with the design that horses, the Timpanogos, or something that says Lindon.
You won't have much of a say on the design either, because we'll give him an idea, and he'll freeform it.
Yeah.
Here's the magic.
I just tell him, no Pacific Northwest totem, and no mythical creatures, and then he'll work it. But that's.
Perhaps this is just the cart before the horse. We don't have a great artist that would be able to do what it is that would be lovely for our city then.
Well, the barefoot artist could, I mean, but he's given us his price.
Any graffiti issues, any
I've
vandalism? I mean,
I've never had a cart.
I just look at that and I can see a high school kid. I don't know what's gonna happen, I'm just,
Yeah, maybe.
yeah.
Okay, well, if anybody doesn't, I mean, I'll cut them down. I'll just cut them and keep them, and then we'll decide later. Or not at
Good
all.
with that?
Okay, thanks. Now I'll sit here for one more.
Now it's time, the one I've been trying to get to that I haven't, anyway,
It's up
I
to you.
apologize. The Geneva Park Resorts, Vineyards doing some nearby development and
So Vineyard staff contacted Mike, Florence, and I, and just discussed that their immediate interest was how long is it going to be before the park is improved that Lindon has down there, because they wanted to utilize some open space for their recreation programming.
tell them it'll be sooner than when they actually do the trail that we've been trying to get them to fund for a long time.
That's our trail project, unfortunately, so,
I know,
yeah.
but they were participating.
So, we had indicated, you know what, it's not in the next probably 2 to 5 years. We haven't talked seriously about any significant improvements down there. They said they would like to see improvements sooner than that, and they were talking green space, so flat.
Who is this?
This is the city of Vineyard.
You're gonna build your park so we can use it.
So, and they were inquiring, you know, can we reserve space and pay for it? I mean, it was not just, can you improve it so we can use it? So, and then as we talked, they identified, so this is the commuter rail and Union Pacific line right here, I-15 and Geneva Road. So in this area, this is 800 North in Orem. In this area, in their master plan, they are looking at very high densities. A commuter rail stop is planned just right in there somewhere. 6,000 to 8,000 people in that spot is what they're anticipating. They've got a developer on board that is planning to make that happen. And so they just kind of on the side said it's very likely that our residents are going to heavily use that park when it is improved. And so they threw out, would you guys be willing to sell it? And we said, wow, that was a hot topic a few years ago, and we're not going to even attempt to say yes or no. We got to get some direction. And so this is just, do we explore this further or not, is what we're looking for. And if it's just like, no way, we don't want to get rid of it, or maybe. Given that information on Vineyard's population within a quarter mile of it, Heath and I said it's, you know, I can see in 10 years if we did improve it that we'd say, wow, we just improved that park and maintain it for Vineyard residents, you know. I could see us feeling that way, but. That could have been.
I bumped into Mayor Fulmer this week at the summit, and she said they have funding they'd be willing to discuss.
To just buy it outright.
No, potentially for the development is what I understood, not purchasing the ground, but.
They had talked about if there was some sort of partnership and improving it in some fashion, but I don't know what that means. And so it was very high level.
She indicated openness to discuss that. Because I mentioned the same thing to her, that that's the anticipation, it would be used greatly by their residents. And they have a plan with the trail along
Yeah,
The
they're
lake
looking.
and all that,
So
too.
they have the Lakeshore Trail runs down along that area and then through the park, actually. And so, so just as a reminder, we sold this triangular piece to the city of Vineyard, and this is their Public Works building location.
What is that big pile of berm-like dirt? I don't know, it looks like it's 12 feet in a, what the heck they doing down there? Because it is not pretty.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, just a little background on that development. You know, UTA's in discussion with the developer and with Vineyard City. We are going to have the Front Runner station built with no parking lot, which is really, there's this discussion, you know, at some point, UTA will build a parking lot, but the developer, whenever they get whatever they're gonna get done down there, we're trying to get them to do a temporary just so they can utilize that. So I'm glad to hear that they're willing to help fund a park for us because that helps in discussions. Yeah, I think we need to have that discussion. I think it's helpful. If indeed that development goes in like they anticipate, and they are going to be using that park, I think there's an opportunity to cooperate and design it in a way that really meets our citizens' needs. In kind of the Heritage Park, you know, we've had other mayors that have been here before, and the long-range view of the lake is that there is a little bit of momentum going with the project, that lake is going to really evolve over time in a way that I think everyone hopefully will be happy about if indeed it happens. It may not be in my lifetime, but there's a lot of momentum that the concept is viable. So I you know, speaking as the current mayor and a former mayor in the future, I would like us to maintain that park in some fashion. Whether we partner with someone or not, I'm okay with that. I'm open to that. In the short term, if we want to collect some money from Vineyard, they want to store stuff on there, I don't know that hurts us. Was that part of the?
No, I think they wanted to see it improve.
They have a need for Little League soccer.
Okay.
Little League soccer fields there.
So they threw out, well, could we build the park? But then basically it's us maintaining their park. And that's what
Yeah.
I could see that being a concern.
Yeah, okay.
Of us. Well, it's our maintenance crews that we're paying to go mow the grass kind of thing. And so I threw out to them, if the council was open to selling it, my assumption was that it was only if it would remain as public park space. And would they be open to a deed restriction that requires them to keep it as a public park? It could never be used for anything else. That would bring the value down, but they seemed open to that. And again, we were talking to their interim city manager and their planner. That was it. So,
I think that when we talked about that the first time when we did sell a portion of it, I think we made some commitments to keep that, and that needs to be a you know, like you said, a legacy park. So I don't think there's any appetite to sell it personally. And I think we want to develop it the way we want to develop it. I think the only way I would be open to some sort of agreement with Vineyard would be if they funded it completely, and then like we have with Orem, some sort of interlocal agreement where they pay the
Certain amount a year for maintenance and stuff.
certain amount for the utilities, the maintenance, and maybe we give them a discounted fee for their soccer. If they're soccer, I don't know. I mean, the plans I've looked at, I don't know that soccer fields fit
it would
that.
be the 100 feet apart kind of goals for little kids is what I think they're thinking.
So I think that's probably the only way I'm on board.
Trail, one of the things that I think it would be important that I heard as well, I agree with Jake, that this is part of Lindon, you know, it's Lindon Marina, not Vineyard Marina, and having a contiguous,
Even though they say it's Vineyard, or
having a contiguous trail, it's part of our master plan for our heritage trail to lead, that's kind of the end point, and then it could tie in to the continuation south. having some dedicated open space, some natural space there next to the lake, I think is something we need to look at, not just immediately cover it with sod. So those are discussions we should have as well.
I think we know where I would stand on this. Back in 17, was quite vocal about it at the time. With this, it's been said here that we don't want Vineyard determining what the use of that particular land is, so it will help to benefit their citizens. This is our park. I'm sorry that they don't have park facilities within close proximity of that. And I don't particularly care for large swaths of sod, like Carolyn has said. I mean, I'd like to maintain some sort of natural habitat. And for me, I could never, I'd roll over in my grave if a council ever turned this back over to Vineyard, because this is our connection so that we have access. We can say we have access from Utah Lake to the trailheads. This is our connection. And to be able to maintain that last several acres, is it 7 acres, 7 plus, is vitally important. What we choose to do with it, I think we'd be lovely to make a choice, but I'm okay with keeping it quite natural and some sort of an educational facility of some kind that's been discussed in the past. But I don't see it needing to be, for our citizens, to be a ball field of any kind. I think there's other things that we can do as we wait and anticipate what the state's going to do with Utah Lake. I'm not opposed to having maybe some sort of a presentation by the Utah Lake Commission to tell us where they're going, because I think this is something that we can do, not we, the future councils can do for our citizens with that precious piece of land.
Don't sell it. Okay.
But it would be nice to put some attention on it. It's been sitting in the wings for decades now, and, you know, that would be part of the commitment we made, was that we would look at this and do something with it that would be meaningful.
I have funds this year to help develop a master plan for it,
Good,
to
nice,
start the process.
that's fabulous.
So in our adopted master plan from last year, it says, should complement the marina, but should also accommodate a passive park. Potential amenities for the park include small pavilions, a dog park, walking trail, signs, picnic tables, a parking lot, and a nature observatory area.
Nice.
For what it's.
Equestrian pavilion? Thanks for laughing there. That was meant as a comic relief.
So no, not selling it. I'm fuzzy on whether or not there's interest to partner with them and let them make improvements.
Interest here, on my part, I think it's worth a shot to hear what if they wanted to collaborate in a way that's mutually beneficial, why not?
It's, if they want to pay for our design.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
opposed.
I'm open to it, but I agree with Randy. I don't think that design includes ball fields.
Baseball is what you're saying, or, because
See ball fields.
soccer is just
Soccer.
grass.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just in a year that we're trying, in an era when we're trying to conserve on water, I think it's to lay down a lot of sod for something that perhaps our citizens are not going to access. I could be wrong, but
I see our citizens accessing it when the trail is complete, more than they have been
sure.
currently.
Yeah, so I'd say don't sell it. Let's work on the plan. Once we get a plan that's acceptable to what we want.
We wanna open
If
that
Vineyard wants to dump money into it, I wouldn't care.
If they want to saddle up with our plan.
Well, yeah, they would, yeah.
So probably for now, I think you say, hey, we need time to develop that plan. We may have interest in the future for you paying for it, to speed up that timeline. But for now, we'll continue our timeline, which is, we've got funds in this next budget to look at a master plan. Is that enough?
Yeah, thank you. Well said.
Yeah, some of that double tracking for front loaders coming into Lindon, isn't it?
It is going through a portion.
Yeah,
of it.
just, we're giving some up, sorry. Okay,
Motion to adjourn. Oh, she beat me, second.
Motion by Randy, second by Van, all in favor?
I had to stay
Aye.
on my toes to get
You
past
did.
you.
Oh, I had thought it. I was just trying to be polite to make sure everybody hadn't got all their comments done.
He said well, and I took that as a.
And candidates, good luck. Tomorrow is, I know,
Yes.
a